Chapter 84. Hearing Qin use murderous words, the three revered martial artists who were reprimanding and questioning changed their expressions. They subconsciously distanced themselves from Qin Yu. The bodies of the Red Cloud King and the Heavenly Star King were still warm. Naturally, they did not dare to anger Qin Yu. The questioning just now was just a subconscious reaction. After all, the one who died here was the most outstanding prince of the Zhenwu royal family. He was almost destined to be the crown prince in the future. Seeing the dead Wu Xingqian, the martial artists on the city wall all came to their senses. They were even more afraid and in awe of Qin Yu. Even the second prince was killed without hesitation. Was there anyone else he did not dare touch? Something big is going to happen. Bai Qingwei and the other students of the Saint Institute looked serious. Killing Wu Xingqian in public, Qin Yu's action was tantamount to slapping the Zhenwu royal family in the face. Whether it was for the sake of face or revenge for Wu Xingqian, the Zhenwu royal family would never let it go. The Zhenwu royal family. They had been the ruler of the dynasty for thousands of years because of their absolute power. Even if Qin Yu was a genius, he would never be able to withstand the wrath of a royal family. I'll give you 10 breaths of time. If anyone appears in my sight again, I'll kill them without mercy. Qin Yu's figure flashed and appeared in the sky above Luoshao City. His cold eyes looked at the tens of thousands of martial artists of the Baizhan dynasty. Boom! Immediately, the tens of thousands of martial artists of the Baizhan dynasty flew away frantically. They did not want to die in vain in front of a ruthless man who had easily killed two revered martial kings. Although they were martial artists of the Baizhan dynasty, they were not from the military. This time, they came just to fish in troubled waters. If they had known it would be so dangerous, they would not have come. After ordering the martial artists of the Baizhan dynasty to retreat, Qin Yu did not stay in Luoshao City for long. Accompanied by a dragon's roar, he quickly disappeared into the distant sky. The city guards were destroyed by Qin Yu. Now that he had ordered the army of the Baizhan dynasty to retreat, the crisis of Luoshao City was resolved. The grudges were settled. Naturally, there was no need to stay here. Quickly sent a message back to the imperial city. After Qin Yu disappeared, the three martial highnesses reacted and immediately went to the teleportation portal in the city to send someone to deliver the news. We have to inform the dean of this matter immediately. The two martial highnesses of the imperial family glanced at each other and also sent people to the imperial family's sacred courtyard. Let's go. On the city wall, Yun Guxuan flew into the air. Brother, where are we going? Yun, she asked as he followed closely behind. Dragon Spirit City. After killing Wu Xingqian, Qin Yu would definitely return to Dragon Spirit City to settle down the Qin family. The situation was just as Yun Guxuan had expected. Qin Yu, who was flying at top speed, returned to Dragon Spirit City in an hour. After returning to the Qin family, Qin Yu informed Qin Tianhu to gather the clansmen while setting up a teleportation array. Although there were only 1,000 direct descendants of the Qin clan, their cultivation was too low. If they wanted to escort them away, they could only set up a teleportation formation. Rumble. However, Qin Yu still underestimated the Zhenwu royal family's reaction. Not long after he returned to the Qin family, the Zhenwu royal family sent a large army to surround Dragon Spirit City. Where's Qin Yu? In the sky above Dragon Spirit City, many figures flew into the sky and shouted. The sound waves were like waves, shocking people's hearts. The 1,000 people above Dragon Spirit City were all martial monarchs and martial highnesses. They came really quickly. Qin Yu, who had finished setting up the teleportation portal, stood up. Master Gyuan, I've finished setting up the teleportation portal. I'll have to trouble you to escort my clansmen away later. Qin Yu turned his head and said to Master Gyuan, who had appeared out of nowhere. This is a small matter. However, what did you do to provoke the royal family's army? Master Gyuan was shocked when he saw Qin Yu setting up the teleportation portal. The speed at which he set up the teleportation portal was too shocking. That's right, Xiao Yu. What happened? Qin Tianhu's expression changed drastically when he saw the royal family's army surrounding Dragon Spirit City so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. with the Zhenwu royal family's army, not to mention the Qin family. Even a duke's manor would be easily crushed. It's nothing major. I just killed the Zhenwu royal family's second prince, Qin Yu said indifferently. You killed the Zhenwu royal family's second prince. However, Qin Yu's indifferent words were like thunder in the Qin family's ears. They were all stunned. You killed the Zhenwu royal family's prince? You call that nothing major? The second prince? You mean Wu Xingqian, right? I've heard of him. I heard that he is the prince with the most outstanding talent among this generation of Zhenwu royal family's princes. Master Guan thought for a while and smiled bitterly. No wonder the Zhenwu royal family mobilized so many people. I'll go and meet them. Second uncle, listen to Master Guan's arrangements later. Someone will receive you after you leave through the teleportation portal. Qin Yu instructed as he looked at the martial monarchs and martial highnesses flying into the sky. Then he soared into the sky. Whoosh! As Qin Yu appeared, a figure flew out from the Zhenwu royal family's army. It was an old man with white hair and a youthful face. He wore a golden dragon robe and had a shocking aura. That's Wu Chunyang. He actually came out of seclusion? When Master Guan saw the old man in the dragon robe, a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. Wu Chunyang. Qin Tianhu was slightly stunned. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. He said with a trembling voice, "Could it be the retired emperor?" The Qin family's people trembled. Their eyes were filled with shock. The retired emperor actually came personally? That's right. Master Guan nodded slightly. His eyes were slightly serious. Not only was Wu Chunyang the retired emperor of Zhenwu royal family, but he was also the only martial ancestor expert in Zhenwu royal family. Grandmaster Gu Yuan also felt surprised as his eyes turned grave. It was just a prince being killed, but Wu Chunyang actually came personally. His reaction seemed a little too big. Fifth martial ancestor realm. In the void, Qin Yu looked at Wu Chunyang indifferently. He did not look anxious at all. It was as if he was not facing a martial ancestor. You are Qin Yu? Qin Yu's indifference and calmness caused Wu Chunyang to be slightly surprised, being able to keep a straight face in front of him. Just this courage alone was enough to show that he was not an ordinary person. I am Qin Yu. Qin Yu nodded slightly. Do you know why I am here? Wu Chunyang asked. Other than Wu Xingqian, I can't think of any other reason. Qin Yu said indifferently. Wu Xingqian was wrong to collude with the enemy. However, he is a descendant of the royal family. You killed him without permission. Have you ever taken Zhenwu royal family seriously? Wu Chunyang narrowed his eyes. A strange look flashed across his eyes. Since it has come to this, there is no point in saying more. What do you want? Qin Yu said directly. Since you killed someone, you naturally have to pay with your life. Wu Chunyang said sternly. The martial emperors and martial honorables in the city all took a step forward. Their killing intent surged and dispersed the wind and clouds. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. However, Qin Yu's expression did not change at all. It was as if he did not feel the pressure of a martial ancestor. As he spoke, the spiritual array plate appeared in his hand silently. The green dragon was not powerful enough to deal with a martial ancestor. He could only use the heaven punishment array. Fortunately, as his cultivation entered the martial king realm, the heaven punishment killing intent was completely awakened. Qin Yu could now use the spiritual array plate to activate the entire heaven punishment array. With 99 bursts of heaven punishing killing intent bursting forth, even if it was a martial ancestor, Qin Yu would not be able to escape. Chapter 85. Hearing Qin Yu's arrogant words, Wu Chunyang's gaze turned sharper. He stared at Qin Yu like a blade. The Zhenwu royal family experts in the city were filled with murderous intent. Their aura seemed to have materialized and became even more terrifying. Qin Yu did not retreat at all. The heavens killing formation in the spiritual formation was ready to erupt at any time. Ha ha! As expected of Qin Tianfeng's son. Like father, like son. After a long confrontation, Wu Chunyang laughed heartily with murderous intent. The originally murderous atmosphere also dissipated like a gust of wind. Qin Tianfeng. Qin Yu was stunned and did not react. You know my father? Qin Tianfeng was the father that he had never met. Qin Yu was not the only one who was confused. The Jinwu royal family experts were also confused. Weren't they here for revenge? Why did the patriarch's attitude change so drastically all of a sudden? All of you disperse. Wu Chunyang waved his hand. The Jinwu royal family experts looked at each other and left respectfully. Follow me. Wu Chunyang's body moved. He landed in the Qin clan. Qin Yu followed closely behind him. Master Gu Yuan. Wu Chunyang did not seem surprised to see Gu Yuan in the Qin clan. He smiled gently. Retired emperor. Although Gu Yuan was an alchemy grandmaster, he was very respectful to a martial ancestor expert. If he became an alchemy grandmaster one day, he would be on par with a martial ancestor. Retired emperor. Qin Tianhu and the rest of the Qin clan had never seen the retired emperor before. They all knelt and greeted him. Patriarch Qin, there's no need to be so restrained. Get up. Wu Chunyang smiled faintly with a kind expression. How do you know my father? Among the people present, the only person who was not nervous was Qin Yu. Your father and I met 20 years ago. Wu Chunyang asked the Qin clan members to disperse. Only Qin Tianhu and Gu Yuan remained. 20 years ago, Gu Yuan exclaimed softly as if he recalled something. That's right. It was when I officially stepped into the martial ancestor realm. Wu Chunyang smiled. It was all thanks to your father's help that I was able to become a martial ancestor. It couldn't be, right? Qin Tianhu opened his mouth wide in disbelief. His elder brother, Qin Tianfeng, was actually so formidable? Qin Yu didn't have much of a reaction. 20 years ago, he wasn't even born yet. Furthermore, it would not be difficult to help someone become a martial ancestor. However, since his father had been able to help Wu Chunyang enter Wu Zone 20 years ago, Wu Chunyang would not be able to enter Wu Zone. How could the Qin clan be in such dire straits? One had to know that before Qin Yu rose to power, the Qin family didn't even have a single heaven realm. 20 years ago, when my uncle passed away, there was no martial arts grandmaster in the empire. The big countries at the border frequently harassed us. Fortunately, at that time, your father appeared and helped me break through to the martial ancestor realm. That is why the empire is so stable now. Originally, I was planning to support your Qin clan to become one of the great clans of the dynasty in order to repay you. However, strangely, your father didn't ask me to do so. He only asked me to protect the Qin clan secretly and let nature take its course. Wu Chunyang said when he saw Qin Yu's confused gaze. Why is that? Qin Yu frowned. Qin Tianan was also confused. If his elder brother really had such ability, there was no reason for him not to help the Qin clan. However, after hearing Wu Chunyang's words, Qin Tianan recalled something. In the past 10 years, the Qin clan had indeed been in danger many times. However, they had been silently resolved. I don't know the exact reason either. Wu Chunyang shook his head and looked at Qin Tianhu. You probably don't know that your elder brother's cultivation had already reached the martial ancestor realm 20 years ago. Qin Tianhu was shocked again. Although he knew that his elder brother's talent was shocking and his cultivation was outstanding, he didn't know that his elder brother had already reached the martial ancestor realm 20 years ago. 20 years ago, his elder brother should only be 18 years old, right? Second uncle, you don't know anything? Qin Yu was even more confused. His father seemed to be intentionally hiding his strength. But why? I really don't know. About 23 years ago, your father participated in the 100 Countries tournament. However, he disappeared for 3 years. At that time, we all thought that your father had already died. It was only 3 years later, when your grandfather passed away from illness, that your father returned to the clan. However, he only stayed for 2 months before leaving in a hurry. After another 4 years, your father carried you back and left in a hurry. Qin Tianhu recalled. Until now, there's been no news of him. Could it be related to my mother? Qin Yu's expression changed slightly as he took out the light green jade pendant that his father had left for him. Back then, due to the double seal on the jade pendant, Qin Yu's cultivation was too weak and he couldn't break the seal. However, The situation was different now. So it requires the cultivation of a martial ancestor to break the seal. The battle dragon's true energy and soul energy surged into the jade pendant. However, the battle dragon's true energy was obstructed. Qin Yu directly used the azure dragon battling the heavens. Not long after, the double seal on the jade pendant was broken. The narcissus on the jade pendant emitted a dazzling light. Immediately after, the narcissus separated from the jade pendant and turned into a narcissus imprint that entered Qin Yu's body. In the next moment, a steady voice resounded in Qin Yu's mind. Xiao Yu, when you broke the seal on the jade pendant, your cultivation must have already advanced to martial ancestor. I'm very sorry that I couldn't accompany you all these years because your mother is still imprisoned in the serene, cold, secret palace of the water fairy, sacred ground for us. The reason why I left you the jade pendant is because I hope that one day, if I die, you must go to the water fairy sacred ground and save your mother. The voice that came from the jade pendant was Qin Yu's father, Qin Tianfeng. After hearing the words in the jade pendant, Qin Yu's previous doubts were completely cleared up. After his father participated in the 100 Countries battlefield, he had successfully entered the water fairy sacred ground, one of the 5 great sacred grounds, and met his mother in the sacred ground. However, his mother had a high status in the water fairy sacred ground and seemed to have a marriage alliance with some force. Later, when his mother gave birth to him and their affair was exposed, the water fairy sacred ground was furious and sent people to kill the father and son. His mother begged with her life and even voluntarily imprisoned herself in the serene, cold, secret palace of the Forbidden Grounds, swearing that she would never step out. This was also the reason why his father didn't want the Qin clan to rise. This was because he didn't want the Qin clan to be too powerful and attract the attention of the water fairy sacred ground. Qin Yu let out a heavy breath. Although he had never met his parents, after hearing the words of the jade pendant, Qin Yu felt an indescribable emotion in his heart. This should be the feeling of having parents protecting you. The moment Qin Yu broke the jade pendant, in a wasteland far away from the Zhenwu dynasty, the figure of a bulky figure holding a pitch-black ancient saber stiffened. This person suddenly turned his head and revealed a handsome face that had been through a lot as he looked excitedly in a certain direction. Crack! In the void in front of this person, a strange beast that was as large as a mountain and surrounded by thousands of lightning bolts spat out a destructive lightning beam that attacked that person. However, that person turned a blind eye and allowed the lightning to strike his body. He still looked in that direction with tears in his eyes. Little Yu. Chapter 86. Xiao Yu, what's wrong? Qin Tianhu asked worriedly when he saw Qin Yu holding the jade pendant motionlessly. I'm fine. Qin Yu came back to his senses and shook his head. He did not tell anyone about the jade pendant. The water fairy sacred ground was one of the 5 sacred grounds that dominated the Tianlong continent. Therefore, the grudge between the Qin clan and the water fairy sacred ground could not be spread. Otherwise, the Qin clan would be in big trouble. That was why his father did not want the Qin clan to be too ostentatious and keep a low profile. Retired Emperor, since you're not here for revenge, why did you come with such fanfare? After knowing the cause and effect of the matter, Qin Yu was no longer worried about the Zhenwu royal family. His father had become a martial ancestor 20 years ago, and his cultivation must be even more terrifying now. As long as Wu Chunyang was not sure whether his father was dead or alive, he would not attack the Qin clan. The royal family's descendant was killed, and the royal family had to put on a show. Otherwise, they would lose face. Of course, I have another matter. I hope that you can participate in the 100 Countries battlefield. I know your strength. If you participate in the 100 Countries battlefield, you can definitely enter the sacred ground. Wu Chunyang said, will it benefit the royal family if I enter the sacred ground to cultivate? Qin Yu would indeed participate in the 100 Countries battlefield and enter the water fairy sacred ground. However, Qin Yu was surprised that Wu Chunyang wanted him to do so. That's right. If you enter the sacred ground as a martial artist of the Zhenwu royal family, the sacred ground will be rewarded greatly. The sacred ground will give out a huge reward that can double the strength of the dynasty. Of course, I won't let you do it for free. I heard from Xiang that you asked him for an ancient map. Wu Chunyang said as he flipped his right hand, and an ancient box appeared in his hand. You have that map too? Qin Yu's expression changed. He took the ancient case. When the ancient box opened, a tattered ancient map appeared in it. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with joy as he took out the ancient map. The two incomplete maps combined to form a brand new map. 100 Countries Battlefield, Ghost Demon Cave. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Now that he knew the exact location, the 9 Serenities held dragon wouldn't be able to escape. Ghost Demon Cave? I remember that it's a forbidden area in the 100 Countries Battlefield, right? Gu Yuan glanced at it and said after pondering for a moment. Indeed, rumor has it that the Ghost Demon Cave is a forbidden area that even the experts of the Holy Lands won't easily set foot in. Wu Chunyang had obtained the ancient map fragment for a long time, so he had naturally heard about the Ghost Demon Cave. Qin Yu laughed. If there really was a 9 Serenities Hell Dragon there. With the martial arts standards of the Sky Dragon continent, it was normal that no one dared to go there. After chatting for a while, Wu Chunyang took his leave. Wu Chunyang planned to let Qin Yu participate in the 100 Countries Battlefield to atone for his crime and make a public announcement about how he would deal with Wu Xingchen's death. In this way, although the true martial royal family would lose face, it was still acceptable. After all, the hundreds of empires in the Azure continent were all racking their brains to send their geniuses to the sacred land in order to obtain rewards from the sacred land and strengthen their nation's strength. The stronger the nation's strength, the more benefits it would gain from the other nations. The current superpowers in the continent basically relied on the 5 sacred lands to develop. The retired emperor doesn't seem to care much about the second prince's death. Qin Tianhu wiped the cold sweat off his face only after Wu Chunyang had led the royal army away. The retired emperor of the royal family was a martial arts grandmaster expert. He really couldn't deal with such a person calmly. Since ancient times, the royal family has been the most heartless. I'm afraid that Wu Chunyang only has the legacy of the royal family in his heart. Gu Yuan shook his head and smiled. As long as the princes aren't all dead, he probably won't care. Qin Yu, on the other hand, was thinking about the matter of the Qin clan. Currently, the Qin family was protected by the true martial royal family and wouldn't be in danger. However, if news of the Water Fairy Sacred Land spread in the future, countless forces would attack the Qin family in order to curry favor with the Water Fairy Sacred Land. At that time, not only would the true martial royal family not protect the Qin family, but they would also attack the Qin family first. Qin Yu felt that he had to arrange a way out for the Qin family before he left. With this thought in mind, Qin Yu immediately set about setting up a powerful formation in the Qin family. He also removed the short-distance teleportation formation that he had set up in a hurry. He set up a huge long-distance teleportation formation in the Qin family's ancestral hall. Fortunately, Qin Yu had killed many martial kings, martial monarchs, and 2 martial saints along the way. This made him very rich. Otherwise, Qin Yu wouldn't have been able to set up these formations. While Qin Yu was setting up the formations, Gu Yuan returned to his winery and continued to live in seclusion. Yin Guxuan and Yun, she came to the Qin family under the night sky. Qin Yu had asked them to guard outside the city and receive the Qin family members who were teleported out. Now that the Qin family was fine, they naturally came to the Qin family. After Qin Yu settled the matters of the Qin family, they would bring Qin Yu back to the Yun family fort. It was late at night, and the bright moon was in the sky. While the majority of the people were sleeping, there was a power that was feeling uneasy. Shui clan of the imperial city. How could this be? That little bastard killed the son of the imperial family, and the retired emperor let him go? The one who spoke was Shui Zhongshan, who had lost control and roared with a ferocious expression. The people of the Shui clan who were standing below all looked grave and uneasy. Did he really kill the Heavenly Star Duke and the Red Cloud Duke of the 100 Battles dynasty? At this moment, a calm voice sounded. It was a gray-bearded elder beside Shui Zhongshan who spoke. This is absolutely true. Countless people in Luoshao City witnessed it. A Shui clan elder hurriedly replied respectfully. This gray-bearded elder was the Shui clan's patriarch, Shui Wanqian. Shui Wanqian's status was higher than Shui Zhongshan's in both the Shui clan and the Zhenwu dynasty. This was because Shui Wanqian's cultivation had reached the peak of martial saint, and it was very likely that he would become a martial ancestor in the future. In other words, the information in this secret letter is true. Shui Wanqian muttered to himself, "Is the seven-star ancient pagoda really a heaven artifact? Big brother, we can't let that little bastard participate in the 100 Countries tournament. Otherwise, with his talent and strength, he will definitely be able to enter the sacred land to cultivate." Shui Zhongshan looked anxious. By then, the Shui clan will be in real danger. Now you know how to be anxious? If you knew this would happen, why didn't you personally use the killing honorable array to kill him? Shui Wanqian snorted heavily. Xiang represented the imperial family. I can't really fall out with him. Shui Zhongshan's face was bitter and filled with regret. Idiot. If you had killed him that day, even if the retired emperor blamed you, as long as I was around, how severe would the punishment be for the Shui clan? Shui Wanqian shouted sternly. Don't forget that the retired emperor doesn't care about anyone's life, but the strength of the dynasty and the inheritance of the imperial family. Seeing the furious Shui Wanqian, Shui Zhongshan did not dare to talk back. The Shui clan naturally trembled with fear. Then, big brother, now that the retired emperor has ordered that no one can target that little bastard, we can't really do nothing, right? After a while, Shui Zhongshan asked tentatively. Chapter 87. Nonsense. If we really don't do anything, then the Shui clan will be doomed. Shui Wanqian snorted. If Qin Yu were to enter the Sacred Academy to train, the Shui clan would have no chance of survival. The Shui clan and the others were excited and waited for Shui Wanqian's orders. What about the retired emperor? Shui Zhongshan hesitated. Now is not the time to be afraid. As long as we can kill that brat, it will be worth it even if we have to offend the retired emperor. Shui Wanqian sneered. Of course, there was another important reason that he did not mention. It was the seven-star ancient pagoda that Qin Yu had that might be a heaven weapon that had attracted his attention. As long as he could get his hands on that heaven weapon, he would be able to defeat a martial ancestor with his cultivation rank. More importantly, a heaven weapon might give him the opportunity to break through to martial ancestor. He had been at the peak of the martial honorable realm for a long time. If this continued, his birthday would come. Therefore, even if he had to offend the imperial family, he had to give it a try. Big brother, what do you plan to do? Shui Zhongshan's expression turned fierce when he heard his brother's words. This information is good. Shui Wanqian looked at the information in his hand and sneered. Shui Zhongshan noticed that Shui Wanqian's gaze was fixed on a name and sneered. 5 days later, in Dragon's spiritual city. Second uncle, have you memorized the control of the killing array? In the Qin clan, Qin Yu told Qin Tianhu the control method of the killing array that he had left in the Qin clan. Although Gu Yuanhui had been helping the Qin clan because of the soul-returning elixir, it was better to rely on oneself than on others. If there was an emergency, Qin Tianhu would have to deal with it himself. I have. Qin Tianhu nodded. The control method of the killing array that Qin Yu had left behind was not complicated. However, Qin Yu's preparations made Qin Tianhu's face turn serious. Since Qin Yu had made such preparations, he must have found out something from the jade pendant that his brother had left behind. When Qin Yu heard this, he took out the golden skeleton that he had refined again. Its combat strength had reached the level of a martial emperor. This golden skeleton contained a trace of his soul power, so he didn't need to use the killing formation in the face of ordinary danger. At this point, all the preparations that Qin Yu had left behind in the Qin clan were completed. Xiaoyu, are you leaving Dynasty? Seeing this, Qin Tianhu saw through Qin Yu's intentions. Yes, I have something to take care of, so I have to leave Dynasty for a while. Qin Yu nodded. Junior brother Qin Yu, can we leave now? Inside the Qin family's main hall, Yin Guxuan and Yun, she stood up when they saw Qin Yu walking over. The Yin family fort was quite far away from the Zhenwu dynasty. Even with the flying speed of a martial king, it would still take more than half a month. This round trip took more than a month. If there were any delays along the way, it would take even longer. Therefore, in terms of time, they had to leave. After all, it was less than 3 months before the 100 Countries tournament. Before I leave, I have something to take care of. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. Shui clan. Yin Guxuan and Yin Shi thought of this at the same time. That's right. Qin Yu didn't hide it either. Now that Wu Xingqian was dead, his only enemy in Zhenwu dynasty was the Shui clan. The Shui clan had tried to kill him several times, so the grudge between him and the Shui clan was irreconcilable. Wu Chunyang probably knew this, so he never mentioned the Shui clan. Young patriarch, someone has delivered a letter to you. At this moment, a Qin clan guard came in and respectfully handed a letter to Qin Yu. Ever since the royal family announced that Qin Yu would redeem himself and participate in the 100 Countries tournament, the Qin clan status had risen. Even without the royal family's promotion, the Qin clan status in Zhenwu dynasty had also risen. Everyone knew that with Qin Yu's strength, it was almost guaranteed that he would be able to enter the sacred land to cultivate. After all, he was able to kill 2 martial venerables at the age of 16. Even in the entire Qinzhou, there was no one else who could do it. A letter. Qin Yu was slightly surprised. He opened it and frowned. You're courting death. What happened? Yin Guxuan and Yun, she looked over. The Shui clan captured Senior Qinghua? After reading the contents of the letter, Yun, she couldn't help but look at Qin Yu. Ancient Demon Mountain Range? That's a place filled with natural dangers, so this must be a trap. Yin Guxuan said, the Shui clan dared to let you go after knowing your combat strength, so they must be confident that they can deal with you. That's right. I think it's better to let the royal family do it. Yin, she added, the commander prince of Baiwu just died guarding the border. Now that the Shui clan has attacked Senior Qinghua, the royal family won't stand by and do nothing. There's no need for that. Qin Yu shook his head. He didn't care about a force that didn't even have a martial arts grandmaster. He could take advantage of this opportunity to completely eliminate the Shui clan to prevent any future troubles. Since the Shui clan took the initiative to attack him, the royal family wouldn't say anything if he destroyed them. You guys go to the Imperial City first. I'll meet up with you guys after I'm done with the Shui clan. As Qin Yu spoke, he flew into the sky and flew toward the Sky Demon Mountain Range. Yin Guxuan and Yun, she looked at each other and flew toward the Imperial City instead of chasing after him. The Shui clan only wanted one person from the Qin clan to go. If there was one more person, Bai Qinghua would die without a burial place. With Qin Yu's character, he would never allow them to go with him. The ancient Demon Mountain Range was located at the eastern border of the Zhenwu dynasty. It was an extremely dangerous mountain range. Not only were there countless ferocious beasts, but there were also all kinds of poisonous miasma. It was extremely dangerous. Even martial kings and martial monarchs rarely dared to go deep into the ancient Demon Mountain Range. The Shui clan's condition was to go deep into the ancient Demon Mountain Range. After 5 days, the Shui clan sent a letter to invite him to come. They must have made sufficient preparations in the past 5 days. However, Qin Yu wasn't afraid at all. He went forward calmly. Whoosh! When Qin Yu flew above the ancient Demon Mountain Range, a large number of powerful arrows suddenly attacked him. Over there, with a thought, Qin Yu shattered all the arrows and swooped down. After breaking through the poisonous miasma, Qin Yu landed in the ancient Demon Mountain Range. Looking around, the solemn Shui clan's martial artists entered Qin Yu's eyes. The location prepared by the Shui clan was a valley. Looking at the terrain around the valley, it was obvious that someone had tampered with it. There were fluctuations of formations everywhere. Wu Bai Qinghua, whose acupoints were sealed and couldn't move, suddenly became excited when she saw Qin Yu coming. She kept shaking her head at Qin Yu. Noticing the worry in Bai Qinghua's eyes, Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. Bai Qinghua had seen his combat strength twice, but she was still so worried. It seemed that the Shui clan had really prepared a killing move this time. Qin Yu, I didn't think that you would dare to come. Shui Wanqian and Shui Chongshan appeared and looked at Qin Yu ferociously. Beside them, there were 5 other mysterious people. The 5 of them were covered in black robes, and their faces couldn't be seen clearly. However, their cultivation was quite strong. They had all reached the martial honored realm. The Shui clan had indeed spent a lot to invite 5 martial honored realm martial artists. However, aren't the 7 martial honors looking down on me a little too much? Chapter 88. I have come as promised. Now, you should let her go, Qin Yu said as he looked at Shui Wanqian and the others. If you want to save her life, you have to pay a price. Shui Wanqian sneered when he heard Qin Yu's words. Price? Qin Yu narrowed his eyes as killing intent surged in his eyes. I heard that you have the 7-star ancient pagoda. If you want to save her, you have to hand it over. Shui Wanqian's eyes were filled with greed. They already knew about it from the information they had obtained from the battle in Luo Shao City. Although Qin Yu was able to match the battle power of a martial exalted after using the secret technique, however, the 7-star ancient pagoda was the real threat to a martial honorable. As long as Qin Yu was swayed and handed over the 7-star ancient pagoda, to them, that Qin Yu posed no threat at all. At that time, they could do whatever they wanted with him. Woo-woo. Bai Qingwei was even more agitated as she struggled. Sure, but you have to let her go first, Qin Yu said with an indifferent expression. It seems that you have not understood the situation. You are not qualified to bargain with us. Now, hand over the 7-star ancient pagoda. Otherwise, I will kill this girl. Shui Wanqian's eyes turned cold as he placed a blade of true essence on Bai Qingyue's throat. Blood immediately flowed out. You are the one who has not understood the situation. Without any bargaining chips, what can you do to keep me here? The killing intent in Qin Yu's eyes intensified as the 7-star ancient pagoda appeared in his hand. I will count to 3. Let her go, and I will give you the 7-star ancient pagoda. If you can't do it, don't blame me for leaving. 1, 2. Qin Yu did not care about Shui Wanqian and the others, whose faces had turned ugly, and started the countdown. Okay, I agree. Shui Wanqian's eyes twitched as he agreed to Qin Yu's condition. The two immediately attacked at the same time, but they played a little trick. Qin Yu tossed the 7-star ancient pagoda into the air. Shui Wanqian's right hand moved, and Bai Qingwei was supported by a burst of qi in the air. Like a sharp arrow, she crashed into a sharp rock in the valley. However, with the speed of both sides, they were able to successfully take each other's items. After Qin Yu confirmed that there were no restrictions on Bai Qingyue's body, he unsealed her acupoints. Junior brother Qin Yu, leave quickly. There's a supremacy killing formation set up in this valley. The moment the acupoint was unsealed, Bai Qingwei immediately said excitedly, it is indeed a heaven artifact. It is finally in my hands. Shui Wanqian, who was holding onto the 7-star ancient pagoda, laughed loudly. It's not that easy to take my things. After Qin Yu signaled Bai Qingwei to rest assured, a strange smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Roar! In the next moment, a dragon roar resounded from the 7-star ancient pagoda. The moment the dragon roared, the 7-star ancient pagoda broke free from Shui Wanqian's hand and flew high into the sky. Then, the 7-star ancient pagoda turned into a giant pagoda that was 100 feet tall. 7 colored starlight poured down like a waterfall from the 7-star ancient pagoda. It was Qin Yu who had left the dragon soul in the 7-star ancient pagoda in advance so that the dragon soul could control the 7-star ancient pagoda. Now it's time for us to settle the score. Qin Yu's figure flashed as he brought Bai Qingwei to the bottom of the 7-star ancient pagoda. After sending Bai Qingwei into the 7-star ancient pagoda, Qin Yu looked coldly at the Shui clan and the others. Damn it, Shui Wanqian, who was dazed from joy because the 7-star ancient pagoda had flown away, immediately became ferocious and terrifying. At this moment, how could he not understand that he had been completely fooled by Qin Yu? What a powerful seal! My cultivation was suppressed by 40%, and my combat strength was even more. It seems that the rumors are true. It could really be a heaven artifact. No wonder the Shui clan didn't hesitate to pay the unseen pavilion a huge sum of money. Since it's confirmed that it's a heaven artifact, then the Blood Tribe's reward is dispensable. The 5 mysterious martial honorables in black robes could not help but change their expressions when they felt the pressure from the 7-star ancient pagoda. There was both fear and greed in their eyes. Their original plan to help the Shui clan had changed because of this. Set up the killing honorable array. Shui Wanqian, who had regained his senses, immediately shouted. The Shui clan martial emperors moved and stood in various positions in the valley. As their true Kong and true Qi flowed into them, dazzling array lights lit up under their feet and formed a huge array. Shui Wanqian, Shui Zhongshan, and the 5 martial honorables from the unseen pavilion stood in the middle of the valley and formed a 7-star array. As the 7 of them formed the formation, streaks of faint purple lightning emerged from the formation beneath the feet of the martial emperors and gathered around the 7 of them. More and more lightning gathered and finally formed a terrifying thunder array. So it's the 7-star thunder array. Without attracting the real lightning of heaven and earth, the 7-star thunder array's power can only deal with martial honorables. No wonder it's called the killing array. Qin Yu took a glance at the enormous formation array that covered the entire valley. He immediately recognized it. The 7-star thunder array was a thunder array that could gather the lightning of heaven and earth. The stronger the lightning gathered, the more terrifying its power. But now, the 7-star thunder array that the Shui clan had set up was like a tiger that looked like a cat. It did not display the true power of the 7-star thunder array at all. Thunder boom. However, with the formation of the 7-star thunder array, the 7-star ancient pagoda's ceiling pressure was greatly reduced. This made Shui Wanqian and the others look even more ferocious. After a loud shout, many 10 feet large lightning pillars were shot explosively toward Qin Yu from their 7 stars formation array. Break! Qin Yu's lips curled into a contemptuous smile. The azure dragon battle sky ring wrapped around the Warden Divine spear and stabbed out. Ripples appeared in the void like the surface of water. The terrifying pillar of lightning was directly broken by the spear. Qin Yu was like a god of death descending to the world. He quickly dove down and stabbed out with his spear again. However, within this spear, there was a terrifying killing intent that spread out like a tide. Attack with all your might. Thunder destruction. Shui Wanqian and Shui Zhongshan looked extremely serious. They realized that they had completely underestimated Qin Yu's combat strength. They took out their Earth-grade spiritual weapons and activated the 7-star thunder array with all their might. The 5 martial sovereigns in the unseen pavilion also sensed the danger and shouted. Majestic true yuan like a river rushed into the 7-star array. It caused the original 7 formation arrays to converge into an enormous lightning beast. Baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, it ferociously pounced toward the incoming Qin Yu. A mere firefly dares to compete with the brilliance of the sun and moon. Heaven-punishing, killing intent. Qin Yu descended from the sky and was unstoppable. The Warden Divine spear exploded with a shocking, killing intent. After the spear, the lightning beast was directly torn apart and turned into thousands of lightning bolts that wreaked havoc in the void like thousands of stars twinkling. How is this possible? Shui Wanqian and the others were shocked and in disbelief. With the power of the honorable slaying array, even if it was only led by a martial sovereign, it could easily kill a martial sovereign of the same rank. But now, with the 7 martial sovereigns working together, Qin Yu had broken through the lightning-killing move? Didn't they say that Qin Yu only knew the secret dragon transformation technique? Then, what was that frightening, killing intent that caused their hair to stand on end? Chapter 89. Die. Without giving Shui Wanqian and the others any time to think, Qin Yu had already charged towards them. The 10 streaks of heaven-punishing killing intent on the warping divine spear were like 10 blazing suns. Kaboom! There was a loud explosion. The seven-star lightning gathering array that the Shui clan had spent a lot of effort to prepare was like a piece of paper. It was smashed into pieces by the killing intent. The terrifying killing intent swept out in all directions like a tidal wave. Wherever the killing intent passed, everything in the valley was destroyed. The martial royal realm cultivators of the Shui clan who were controlling the array were unable to resist the killing intent and were turned into blood. The seven-star lightning gathering array was also destroyed. My hands! Shui Zhongshan cried out in pain as his hands turned into blood mist and he fell to the ground. Shui Wanqian's body shook and he spat out blood. His face was pale and his aura was weak. Buzz! Buzz! The 5 martial honored realm cultivators of the unseen pavilion quickly took out a spiritual pattern jade stone. A rune-light shield was emitted from the spiritual pattern jade stone, and it blocked the heaven-punishing killing intent. However, their auras were messed up, and it was obvious that they were severely injured. Die! At this moment, Qin Yu was as fast as a ghost as he charged out again. Shui Wanqian and Shui Zhongshan were instantly killed by the 2 spears. The top martial honored realm cultivators of the Shui clan had been completely destroyed. This is definitely not the power of a martial honored realm cultivator. That killing intent, could it be the power of heaven and earth? The power of heaven and earth? Isn't that something that can only be comprehended by a martial ancestor? Does this mean that he has a treasure that is as powerful as a martial ancestor? Run, send the news back, and ask the head pavilion to send someone here. The 5 martial honored realm cultivators of the unseen pavilion took the opportunity to escape while Qin Yu was killing Shui Wanqian and Shui Zhongshan. Bang! However, just as they were about to leave the 7-star ancient pagoda, a beam of 7-colored light hit them and sent them flying back. Do you really think that the power of a heaven artifact is so weak? Qin Yu turned his head and looked coldly at the 5 martial honored realm cultivators. Luckily, I brought the Origin Shield Talisman. However, I have to think of a way to break through the 7-colored light shield. The 5 dark Nether Pavilion martial practitioners felt their hair stand on end when they were stared at by Qin Yu's indifferent gaze. It was as if they were being stared at by a ferocious beast. A mere half-grade defensive spiritual artifact. Defensive spiritual artifact, you can't stop me. Qin Yu rushes over like a bolt of lightning. In his right eye, a dark light is quietly flickering. His eye. The talisman barrier that the 5 dark Nether Pavilion members had conjured immediately turned into countless energy structures after being scanned by the ghost eyes of annihilation. Suddenly, Qin Yu's eyes shined. With a movement of his right hand, the hell-suppressing divine spear violently pierced into a certain fulcrum of the rune protective barrier. Crack! The entire rune barrier suddenly exploded. We are from the unseen pavilion. How dare you kill us? With the shield shattered, the 5 martial honored realm cultivators of the unseen pavilion immediately attacked with all their might in an attempt to stop Qin Yu. Since you are involved, how can I let you go? Unfortunately, they were unable to stop Qin Yu when they had the 7-star Thunder Convergence Array. Now, it was even more impossible. Qin Yu's figure flickered as his heaven-punishing killing intent surged. A terrifying, destructive killing intent wreaked havoc between heaven and earth. Even though the 5 martial honored realm cultivators had used all their means, they still lost their lives one after another. They were completely unable to stop Qin Yu. Looking at all the dead martial honored realm cultivators, Qin Yu withdrew his heaven-punishing killing intent. The 7-star ancient pagoda fell, and the dragon's soul flew out with by Qin Yu. It seems that even with this 10,000 poison inky flood dragon, I won't have the chance to fight. The dragon's soul entered the ancient dragon seal and said in a bored manner, Dragon soul, when did you become so warlike? Carrying the unconscious by Qin Yu flew into the sky. He was a little surprised. Although the dragon soul had a murderous nature, it wasn't warlike. In his previous life, the dragon soul was only interested in refining dragon blood. It rarely interfered in Qin Yu's battles unless Qin Yu couldn't handle it. When I almost died in the hands of Xing Luo, I regretted that I didn't have enough battle strength. The dragon soul's eyes flickered with killing intent. Therefore, in this life, it wanted to be like Qin Yu in his previous life and obtain a super strong battle strength. When we go to the 100 countries battlefield and find the 9 Abyss Hell Dragon, you will have a strong enough body. Qin Yu smiled. It seemed that he wasn't the only one with enough regrets in his previous life. Speaking of this matter, do you really believe that there's a 9 Abyss Hell Dragon on this continent? The Dragon Soul was a little uncertain when it came to the 9 Abyss Hell Dragon. One must know that the 9 Abyss Hell Dragon was a real dragon. And in the Dragon Clan, the 9 Abyss Hell Dragon was definitely a powerful existence. It was not something that the 1,000 Poison Inky Flood Dragon could compare to. The real Dragon Clan, even if it was a young dragon, had the battle strength of Wushang. An adult dragon's battle strength reached the martial ancestor, martial emperor, or even emperor realm. The heavenly dragon continent was a small continent, and it didn't seem like there was a dragon clan. Anyway, we already know the location on the map. Let's go and take a look. To be honest, Qin Yu also had similar doubts. However, there was nothing absolute in the world. They still didn't know much about this continent. Therefore, it didn't mean that there was no dragon clan on this continent. It wasn't easy to get the clue of dragon blood, so naturally there was no reason to let it go. 2 hours later, Qin Yu brought Bai Qinghua back to the royal family. At this time, the true martial royal family had already learned that Bai Qinghua was captured by the Shui clan. The military was furious and captured all the Shui clan. The retired emperor Wu Chunyang was ready to go to the ancient Demon Mountain range. It wasn't until Qin Yu brought Bai Qinghua back safely that the retired emperor stopped. The news of Shui Wanqian and the others being killed also spread. As for the punishment of the Shui clan, Wu Chunyang personally ordered the execution of 3 generations of the Shui clan. One of the top clans in the true martial dynasty was completely destroyed. No one in the true martial dynasty dared to object to the punishment of the Shui clan. Firstly, it involved the retired emperor and Qin Yu. Secondly, the Shui clan's actions had completely angered the public. After all, the Bai Wu commandery prince had just died at the border. They were too arrogant to attack the people of the Bai Wu commandery prince's mansion. After the Shui clan was destroyed, Qin Yu's grudge in the true martial dynasty was completely resolved. The next day, Qin Yu, Yun Guxuan, and Yun Shi left the true martial dynasty. The Yun family fort was located in the Luo Yun Valley in the southwest region of Qingzhou. The Yun family fort's forces were centered in the Luo Yun Valley and covered the surrounding 72 counties. Although the Yun family fort didn't establish its own dynasty, the forces in the 72 counties were all subordinate forces of the Yun family fort. It was evident how powerful the 13 houses of Qingzhou were. Speaking of which, the Yun family fort's forces aren't any weaker than the royal family. Why do you still want to enter the Royal Sacred Institute of the true martial dynasty? Halfway through their journey, while chatting with Yun Guxuan and Yun Shi, Qin Yu asked curiously, because the 5 great sacred grounds stipulated that only the heavenly talents of the various countries can participate in the 100 countries tournament. Yun Shi said, it was also because of this that the siblings entered the Royal Sacred Institute. In other words, they used the true martial dynasty to participate in the 100 countries tournament and enter the sacred grounds to cultivate. Chapter 90. However, it's not absolute. If one's talent is outstanding, the prefecture lord will recommend him to the sacred ground. Yin Guxuan added, because the prefecture lords are all from the sacred ground. With Qin Yu's talent, if the prefecture lord knew about it, he would not need to participate in the 100 countries tournament and could directly enter the sacred ground to cultivate. Junior Qin Yu, if you want to meet the prefecture lord, the Yin family fort can help. Yin Guxuan immediately said to Qin Yu, no need. Qin Yu shook his head. Going to the 100 countries battlefield was his top priority. Only by obtaining the real Dragon Clan would he have the strength and qualification to go to the Water Fairy Sacred Ground to save his mother. Qin Yu was very clear. Although he could use the killing intent of the heavens, to kill a martial honorable. He could also use the entire heaven punishment array to deal with a martial grandmaster. However, if it was a group of martial grandmasters or wusheng, he would not be able to deal with them with the heaven punishment array. After all, he was only a martial king now, and his cultivation was too weak. Cultivation was the foundation of everything. In his previous life, he was known as the Dragon God Emperor because of the Dragon Clan's superpower and his cultivation. The three major killing arrays in the heaven punishment ancient diagram were only supplementary methods. Therefore, the most important thing now was to improve his cultivation. 10 days later, Qin Yu and the other two entered the territory of the Yun family fort. Skyfog City, one of the main cities of the prefecture, had a teleportation array that led directly to the Yun family fort. Let's rest in this city for the night. We can teleport directly to the Yun family fort tomorrow. After entering the city, Yun Guxuan and Yun Shi brought Qin Yu to a luxurious palace. After showing their identity as members of the Yun family fort, Yun Guxuan and the other two stayed in the most central hall of the palace. Yin Shi, you are indeed back. Just as the three of them were heading to the hall, a group of people walked towards them. The leader of the group was a 17 or 18-year-old youth with an aquiline nose. Zhu Gang, Yin Guxuan, and Yun Shi's faces darkened when they saw the youth with an aquiline nose. This hook-nosed youth was a direct disciple of the Zhu clan fort, one of the 13 forts of the Qing province. The Zhu family fort and the Yun family fort were close to each other. Therefore, they were considered to have a good relationship among the 13 houses. However, ever since something happened to the Yun family fort, the Zhu family fort gradually coveted the Yun family fort. Zhu Gang, what are you doing in my Yun family fort? Yin Guxuan stared at the hook-nosed youth with an unfriendly gaze. Of course I'm here for a marriage alliance. Zhu Gang chuckled as his fiery gaze fell on the slender figure of Yun Shi. Give up. I will not marry you. Yun Shi gnashed his teeth and shouted angrily. Zhu Gang had been pestering her ever since he met her 2 years ago. He even went to the Yun family fort to propose marriage. That was why Yun Shi had followed his elder brother to the true martial dynasty to cultivate. It doesn't matter whether you agree or not. Anyway, the elders of the Yun family fort have already agreed. Zhu Gang looked at Yun Shi, who was a feast for the eyes. He licked his lips and clicked his tongue. Impossible. Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi's faces changed. That's hard to say. You should be clear about the situation of the Yun family fort. If the Zhu family fort takes out a top-notch detoxification elixir, do you think the Yun family fort will agree? Zhu Gang laughed even harder as he walked toward Yun Shi with a covetous look. Zhu Gang, if you dare to take another step forward, don't blame me for being rude. Yin Guxuan's eyes turned cold as he took a step forward. A powerful aura swept out like a hurricane. His cultivation had reached the half-step to martial royal realm. Half-step to martial royal realm? Yin Guxuan, I used to think that you were a genius. I didn't expect your cultivation to progress so slowly after 2 years. No wonder you're not qualified to cultivate in a top-notch dynasty and can only go to a remote place like the true martial dynasty. Zhu Gang laughed disdainfully as an aura that was several times more powerful than Yin Guxuan's erupted from his body. Martial Royal Realm. Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi's faces changed again. They didn't expect Zhu Gang, who was far weaker than them, to have reached the Martial Royal Realm. Even in the 13 houses of Qingzhou, he could be considered a rare genius to have reached the Martial Royal Realm at such a young age. The marriage between the two families has been established. She is now my woman. If you want to stop me, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Zhu Gang laughed sinisterly as his right hand turned into a claw and grabbed toward Yun Shi. Instantly, an illusory claw shadow flickered in the void. Every claw shadow was like a ghost, making it impossible to predict where it would attack from. It emitted a dangerous aura. Thousand Cloud Palm. Yin Guxuan's eyes turned cold as he condensed a vast amount of true origin in his body into his hands. Then, he struck out with both hands. Thousands of sharp palms overlapped with each other and formed a giant palm that carried a ferocious aura as it struck out. Bang! The ghostly claw shadow and the spiritual energy palm collided, causing a violent true origin fluctuation to wreak havoc. The flowers and decorations in the surroundings were directly shattered. Dang, dang, dang. After a series of collisions, Yin Guxuan groaned, and his face turned pale as he retreated continuously. At some point, a clear shadow of a claw had appeared in front of his chest. Huh! After retreating more than 10 steps, Yin Guxuan shouted loudly and stopped his body. He quickly neutralized the claw shadow in his body. When he was attacked, his reaction was a little slow, causing the claw shadow to enter his body. Not bad. Take another move of mine, Ghostly Shadow Strike. Seeing this, Zhu Gang sneered and pounced forward again. This time, his hands formed into claws, and the blade-like claw shadows intertwined in the air as he pounced toward Yin Guxuan. Stop! Yin Xiao's expression changed, and she immediately rushed over. With her brother's current situation, he definitely wouldn't be able to withstand this move. At the very least, he would be severely injured. Whoosh! At this moment, a black shadow flashed, and a figure appeared in front of Yin Guxuan. Break! A calm and relaxed voice sounded. Then, a fist with destructive power suddenly blasted out. The ghostly claw shadows that attacked were all shattered. Not a single one was left behind. It was Qin Yu who had made his move. This time, Qin Yu was invited to the Yin family fort to neutralize the poison. Logically speaking, he couldn't let Yin Guxuan be severely injured. Who are you? After his attack was neutralized, Zhu Gang's expression immediately turned gloomy. He looked at Qin Yu from head to toe. Looking at Qin Yu's appearance, he shouldn't be a disciple of the Yin family fort. How dare he spoil his plans? He must be tired of living. Zhu Gang, this is an important guest of the Yin family fort. If you know what's good for you, you'd better leave immediately. Seeing that Qin Yu had made his move, Yin Shi immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Yu could even kill a martial honorable. Zhu Gang was naturally no match for Qin Yu. However, thinking of the Zhu family fort behind Zhu Gang, Yin Shi didn't want Qin Yu to provoke such a powerful enemy. An important guest? Him? A mere LV5 martial king? Zhu Gang didn't hide the disdain on his face. He didn't even take Yin Guxuan, who was a half-step martial emperor, seriously, let alone Qin Yu. However, when he saw that Yin Shi's gaze towards Qin Yu was filled with admiration and a strange look that couldn't be concealed, his face twitched. Zhu Gang's face twitched, and killing intent immediately appeared in his eyes. Yin Shi's gaze had already shown that her relationship with Qin Yu was not ordinary. The woman he had taken a fancy to was having an ambiguous relationship with someone else. Naturally, Zhu Gang couldn't tolerate this. Chapter 91. Yin Shi, I thought you were pure. I didn't expect you to be such a slut. An important guest? I'll take a look at your lover. Zhu Gang's face immediately turned gloomy, and the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. Zhu Gang, how dare you? Yin Shi was so angry that her face turned red and her body started to tremble. Since you're so agitated, it seems like I'm right. Today, I'll strip you naked and play with you in front of this brat. Then, I'll give you to my follower and let you know the fate of a slut. Zhu Gang snorted coldly, and the obscene look in his eyes was completely exposed. Before he finished speaking, Zhu Gang's body moved and a strong, true divine origin condensed in his right hand. It turned into a solid claw shadow and grabbed at Yin Shi. The power of the sharp claw shadow made Yin Shi's face turn pale, and she instinctively hid behind Qin Yu. There is indeed an affair. This scene made Zhu Gang's face turn even uglier. His murderous gaze fell on Qin Yu. The dangerous claw shadow attacked Qin Yu's dantian like lightning. It seemed like he wanted to destroy Qin Yu's dantian and turn Qin Yu into a cripple. You're courting death. Qin Yu's gaze turned cold. He originally only wanted to save Yin Guxuan and did not expect to be involved in the grudge between the two. However, Zhu Gang overestimated himself and wanted to kill him. This angered Qin Yu. Destructive divine fist. The flesh and blood in his body surged at this moment, and energy gathered in his right fist like 10,000 rivers flowing into the sea. The majestic, true, divine origin of the battle dragon also swept into his right fist. Destructive heaven and earth. Qin Yu took a step forward, and his right fist carried an incomparably terrifying destructive power. As he threw out a punch, a 5-foot-wide fist radiance condensed, and an undulating explosion sounded in the void. It was the sound of the air being compressed by the power. It was enough to show the power of Qin Yu's punch. Destructive heaven and earth was the third stage of the destructive divine fist. It could completely unleash the power of the destructive divine fist, a peak emperor martial skill. Not good. In the face of Qin Yu's punch, Zhu Gang, who had originally had a ferocious expression and killing intent in his eyes, felt his heart tremble for some reason. He immediately realized that he had underestimated Qin Yu. But now that the arrow had left the bowstring, it was impossible to stop. Zhu Gang could only let out a loud roar and go all out to increase the power of his attacks. Boom! The fist and the claw collided with each other at lightning speed. The destructive True Yuan exploded once again like a hurricane. This time, the corridors and pavilions in the palace collapsed, and the warriors flew out in fright. Pucci. After taking the brunt of Qin Yu's punch, Zhu Gang's body trembled violently, and he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying more than 30 meters away. He crashed heavily into one of the ruined buildings. On the other hand, Qin Yu did not even take half a step back. His body did not move at all, like an immovable mountain. 400,000 kilograms of fire and lightning body's power. The battle dragon's True Yuan from 10 dragon veins, the devouring darkness attribute, and the divine fist of destruction, which was at the peak of the Emperor's stage. Facing ordinary martial dominators, Qin Yu did not even need to use the hell-suppressing godly spear. Young Master. The expressions of the warriors following Zhu Gang changed. They immediately rushed into the ruins and pulled Zhu Gang out. What happened? Who is this person? How dare he make a move in the Yun family fort's temporary residence? Is he tired of living? Shoo, lower your voice. Look over there. Is he a disciple of the Yun family fort and the Zhu family fort? So he is a disciple of these two forces. No wonder the experts of the temporary residence did not appear. The warriors who came out started discussing when they saw Yun Guxuan, Yun Shi, and Zhu Gang. Damn it, I'm going to kill him. Kill him. Zhu Gang, who had been injured by a mere martial king, emitted a terrifying, baleful aura, like a berserk beast. Little sister, go and call the experts of the temporary residence. Yun Guxuan, who had neutralized the hidden energy in his body, looked at Zhu Gang, who had completely lost control and was filled with killing intent. He could not help but glance at Qin Yu. When he saw the coldness in Qin Yu's eyes grow stronger, Yun Guxuan's heart sank. Yun Guxuan remembered clearly the day when Qin Yu of Luo Shao City was enraged. He had first killed a martial honorable, then killed a prince. If Zhu Gang made a move again, he would not be far from death. Qin Yu would not care if he was a direct descendant of the Zhu family fort. This time, Yun Guxuan had asked Qin Yu for help to neutralize the poison. If Qin Yu and the Zhu family fort formed an irreconcilable blood feud, he would feel bad. Stop her! Zhu Gang immediately shouted when he sensed Yun Guxuan's intention. A martial emperor appeared beside him. He crossed the void and appeared behind Yun Shi, stopping him from leaving. Yun Guxuan, even if you call your Yun family ancestor here today, don't even think about saving this little bastard. Zhu Gang walked over angrily. With every step he took, his ferocious aura grew stronger. Wisps of black fog were also being emitted from his body, gradually circling around him. Zhu Gang's cultivation immediately rose at a shocking speed. From the first layer of the martial emperor realm to the fourth layer of the martial emperor realm, an increase of 3 layers. The strength of the increase was shocking. Innate spiritual meridians? Yin Shi cried out in surprise. The black mist was the power of the spiritual meridians in Zhu Gang's body. Yin Guxuan was stunned. Zhu Gang had innate spiritual meridians? No wonder the elders of the Yin family fort agreed to Zhu Gang's marriage. Even in the 13 houses of Qingzhou, there were not many geniuses with innate spiritual meridians. Innate spiritual meridians were not something that could be compared to spiritual meridians and heavenly meridians. Those who had innate spiritual meridians were all favored by the heavens. Once they awakened their spiritual meridians, their cultivation speed would be greatly different from before. Yin Guxuan had found it strange that Zhu Gang had surpassed him to become a martial emperor. Now he understood. Junior Qinyu, Zhu Gang must be a core disciple in the Zhu family fort. You. Thinking of this, Yin Guxuan quickly whispered to Qinyu. With Zhu Gang's current status, if Qinyu really killed Zhu Gang, the matter would be blown out of proportion. If he takes another step forward, he will die. Qinyu did not bother with Yin Guxuan. His gaze was still indifferently looking at Zhu Gang. Wisps of dense killing intent were already circling around him. In the Qingzhou area, those with innate spiritual meridians could be considered as geniuses with great potential. However, in Qinyu's previous life, not to mention innate spiritual meridians, he had killed countless geniuses with sacred bodies, divine bodies, and emperor bodies. If one did not have great strength, no matter how great his potential was, he would still be an ant with some potential. If he takes another step forward, he will die. Yin Guxuan's expression changed. Just as he was about to speak, a gloomy voice filled with anger suddenly sounded out. However, because Qinyu did not lower his voice in the slightest, when Zhu Gang heard those words, he was enraged and his eyes became bloodshot. Ever since Zhu Gang had awakened his innate spiritual meridians, everyone treated him with respect. Now, this little bastard who came out of nowhere dared to be so arrogant. I'd like to see how you're going to kill me. Zhu Gang's expression became even more ferocious as he took a step forward. However, before he could finish his sentence, he suddenly saw a black figure appear in front of him at lightning speed. Not good. Yin Guxuan only saw a blur before he saw Qinyu appear in front of Zhu Gang as if he had teleported. His expression changed greatly once again. Chapter 92. Gang. Stop. A martial highness among Zhu Gang's personal guards reacted and immediately let out a roar before dashing out at lightning speed. Unfortunately, the speed of that martial highness was still half a beat slower. Bang! Before Zhu Gang could finish his sentence, he suddenly felt a tremendous force slamming into his body. It was as if he had been hit by a desolate ancient beast. He was sent flying again. Moreover, this time, the sound of bones shattering could be clearly heard coming from Zhu Gang's body. How ruthless! Where did this youth come from? All the cultivators who heard the sound of bones shattering couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. As martial artists, they could tell from the sound that Zhu Gang was most likely already dead. Many people looked at Qinyu, who had calmly retracted his leg, with fear in their eyes. After all, Zhu Gang had an innate spiritual pulse. He was a genius who could enter the 5 great sacred lands in the future. But now, he was mercilessly killed by Qinyu. A genius had fallen just like that. Qinyu's decisiveness and ruthlessness made them feel a chill in their hearts. Young master, the faces of the Zhu clan's guards changed, and they immediately rushed over. However, when they caught Zhu Gang, a look of despair appeared in everyone's eyes. All of Zhu Gang's organs had been shattered. Even a deity couldn't do anything about it. Zhu Gang, who had an innate spiritual pulse, was killed. They would definitely die when they returned to the Zhu clan's fort. You dare to kill someone from the Zhu clan's fort? The expression of the martial highness changed greatly, as his face became hideous and terrifying. A terrifying aura that made the hearts of all the cultivators tremble suddenly exploded. It made the entire palace tremble violently. It was as if an earthquake had struck. Those martial artists who were originally watching and discussing fervently immediately turned into birds and disappeared into thin air. We're in big trouble now. Seeing this scene, Yin Guxuan and Yun, she couldn't hide the worry in their eyes. Although a martial honorable couldn't do anything to Qin Yu, Zhu Gang had killed Zhu Gang. However, after Zhu Gang's death, Qin Yu and the Zhu clan's four had formed a blood feud and a death oath. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the martial highness of the Zhu Jiabao was about to attack Qin Yu, several figures arrived rapidly. The leader was a man in a silver robe. He was also a martial honorable. Uncle Feng, Yin Guxuan, and Yun, she clearly recognized the silver-robed man. However, the worry in their eyes did not disappear. This silver-robed man was the person in charge of the Yun family fort in Sky Fog City, Yun Shanfeng. If it was an ordinary matter, Cloud Peak would naturally protect them. But now that Zhu Gang had been killed, the nature of this matter was completely different. If this matter was not handled properly, it could trigger a war between the Yun family fort and the Zhu family fort. For the current Yun family fort, this was an absolutely unbearable consequence. This is... Zhu Gang is dead. Yin Shanfeng glanced at Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi before shifting his gaze to the Zhu family fort's marshal revered. Suddenly, he narrowed his eyes and saw Zhu Gang, who was no longer breathing. His expression changed slightly. He knew that the people from the Zhu family fort were in the temporary residence. He also received news that Zhu Gang and Yin Guxuan had a conflict. He originally thought that it was just a dispute between the younger generation and did not pay much attention to it. However, he did not expect Zhu Gang to be dead. Brother Jinhan, may I know what happened here? Yin Shanfeng suppressed the ominous feeling in his heart and cupped his fists as he asked the Zhu family fort's martial honorable. Zhu Gang had actually died in the Yun family fort's temporary residence. This matter had become a big deal. However, he could not figure out who could kill Zhu Gang when he was accompanied by a martial honorable. Among the people present, Yin Guxuan's cultivation was the strongest, but he was only a half-step martial emperor. He probably could not even defeat Zhu Gang, let alone when he was protected by a group of guards. Yin Shanfeng, your Yin family fort's disciples hired assassins to kill my nephew. Now you're asking me what happened here? The martial honorable named Zhu Jinhan's expression became even more ferocious. His body was surrounded by a dense killing intent. Hired assassins? Yin Shanfeng's heart skipped a beat. He immediately looked at Yin Guxuan and Yin Shi. Could it be that Yin Shi did not want to marry Zhu Gang and hired assassins to kill him? What's going on? Yin Shanfeng's tone immediately darkened. His gaze also became sharper. If that was the case, even if Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi were outstanding descendants, they could only abandon them. Yin Shanfeng, stop acting. The real culprit is this little b** starred. Just as Yin Guxuan was about to speak, Zhu Jinhan's bone-chilling voice rang out again. Yin Shanfeng was stunned. He looked at Qin Yu. If Zhu Jinhan had not mentioned him, he would not have noticed Qin Yu's existence. A martial king was like an ant in his eyes. Brother Jinhan, are you saying that this guy is the one who killed Zhu Gang? Yin Shanfeng found it hard to believe. After all, Qin Yu is only a LV5 martial king. Do you mean that you're going to protect him? Zhu Jinhan's eyes twitched. His gaze was filled with hostility and a strong murderous intent. To be honest, even Yin Shanfeng, who had witnessed it himself, found it hard to believe, let alone Yin Shanfeng. No one would believe that a LV5 martial king could kill a martial dominator. However, the truth was right in front of his eyes. He had no choice but to believe it. How is that possible? Since this guy killed Zhu Gang, Brother Jinhan can punish him as you wish. Yin Shanfeng immediately reacted. He took a step back with a smile, indicating that he would not interfere in the matter. Uncle Feng, Yin Guxuan, and Yin Shi were shocked. They immediately stepped forward to plead for mercy. Shut up. However, they were interrupted by Yin Shanfeng's stern voice. At least you know what's good for you. Zhu Jinhan harumphed coldly. However, he did not give up. There's also this little thief. She has a marriage alliance with my nephew, but she's fooling around with this little bastard. She's a disgrace to my Zhu clan fort's reputation, so she must be buried with my nephew. If not for Yin Shi, Zhu Gang would not have died. The Zhu family fort would not have lost a genius. Of course, today's matter would not end here. The Yin family fort would have to pay a heavy price. That's what I should do. Yin Shanfeng didn't even think about it and immediately agreed. He only wanted to appease the Zhu family fort. As for Yin Shi, she was just a clan member with mediocre talent. It was natural for her to sacrifice herself for the family. Previously, Yin Shi had value in the Yin family fort. She had value in the marriage alliance with Zhu Gang. Now, not only was she worthless, but she had also caused so much trouble for the Yin family fort. Naturally, she deserved to die. Yin Shanfeng, you didn't do your best. Yin Guxuan was furious when he heard that. He even called Yin Shanfeng by his name. As for Yin Shi, her face turned pale. Her eyes were filled with despair. She knew that the higher-ups of the Yin family fort would make the same decision as Yin Shanfeng. Take them down. Yin Shanfeng's eyes turned cold. The three martial emperors grabbed at Yin Guxuan, Yin Shi, and Qin Yu. Bang! Suddenly, there was a groan. The martial emperor who grabbed at Qin Yu was sent flying. I say, the two of you, are you treating me like air? Qin Yu, who had been silent all this while, looked at Zhu Jianhan and Yin Shanfeng indifferently. They had decided to punish him with just a few words. Chapter 93. Qin Yu's attack caused Yin Fengshan to involuntarily cry out in surprise. ALV-5 Martial King sent a martial royal flying with one punch? He had thought that Zhu Jianhan had a grudge against Qin Yu and wanted to kill Qin Yu with Zhu Gang's death. However, it would appear now that Zhu Gang had truly been killed by Qin Yu. Who are you? ALV-5 Martial King killed a martial royal. This made Yin Shanfeng pay more attention to Qin Yu. If Qin Yu was an ordinary person, it would be fine to kill him. However, if he was a big shot, he could not be dealt with at will. At the very least, the Yin family fort could not be involved. This is young Master Qin Yu, the one who I sent a message to the clan saying that he can cure the blood fog goo poison. Yin Guxuan said immediately. The Yin family fort was in such a situation because of the blood fog goo poison. As long as Qin Yu could go to the Yin family fort to cure the blood fog goo poison, the Zhu family fort could still be resolved. The person you mentioned is him? Yin Shanfeng's eyes lit up, but he was obviously surprised. A young man could cure the blood fog goo poison? Zhu Jianhan's expression changed slightly, and his eyes became colder. Not only that, young Master Qin Yu is a close friend of Master Tianqiong from the Zhenwu dynasty. Yin Guxuan said again when he saw the change in Yin Shanfeng's expression. Could it be Master Tianqiong, who made an inferior heaven weapon? Following this, Yin Shanfeng's gaze became even more cautious. In the Great Eastern Territory, Master Tianqiong's reputation was at its peak. He had even become the #1 blacksmith in Qingzhou. It was rumored that he was only half a step away from becoming a blacksmith grandmaster. Among the top forces in Qingzhou, there were heaven-grade spiritual weapons. However, they were either obtained from ancient relics or were rewarded by the 5 great holy lands. Therefore, one could imagine how high the status of a blacksmith grandmaster was. Even the 5 great holy lands might try to rope them in because of this. Since Qin Yu actually had a close relationship with Master Tianqiong, Yin Shanfeng naturally didn't dare to act rashly. However, if he protected Qin Yu, it would be difficult to deal with the Zhu clan. Right now, there was no other evidence to prove that Qin Yu could definitely cure the blood mist goo poison. After all, the Yin family fort had invited all the grandmasters of alchemy in Qingzhou to cure the blood mist goo poison. Other than being bosom buddies with Master Tianqiong, young Master Qin Yu is also acquainted with Master Guiyuan. Seeing that Yin Fengfeng was deep in thought, Yin Guxian took out another bargaining chip to raise Qin Yu's value. Master Guiyuan? That Master Guiyuan who was famous in the Great Eastern Domain but mysteriously disappeared. A half-step equipment refining grandmaster and an alchemy master. These two were enough to make Yin Feng pay more attention to Qin Yu. Yin Shanfeng, you have to think carefully. Can a mere grandmaster of alchemy be compared to the antidote given by the Holy Lands? Don't be fooled by his flowery words and let the Yun family fort walk down the path of destruction from now on. Seeing that Yun Shanfeng was shaken, Zhu Jianhan's face became gloomier. Although he wasn't afraid of Yun Shanfeng, this was the territory of the Yun family fort after all. If Yun Shanfeng really wanted to protect Qinyu, he wouldn't have a big chance of succeeding. Are you saying that the antidote given by the Holy Lands for your marriage alliance was given by the Holy Lands? Yuan Shanfeng's face changed. It was just like how only the 5 great Holy Lands could refine heaven weapons. Only the 5 great Holy Lands had grandmasters of alchemy. The antidote given by the Holy Lands was actually refined by a grandmaster of alchemy? Moreover, do you really think that the blood mist goo poison that many grandmasters of alchemy are helpless against can be cured by this little bastard? A cold smile appeared at the corners of Zhu Jianhan's mouth as he said contemptuously, "Young Master Qinyu even came up with the antidote for the poison of the myriad poison inky flood dragon, which is said to have no antidote. How can he not cure the blood mist goo poison? One more thing, Uncle Feng. You may not know this, but it was thanks to Master Qinyu that the House of Yun was able to learn of the blood mist goo poison's properties." Yun Guxuan retorted when he saw the situation. Zhu Jianhan and Yun Guxuan's words made it difficult for Yun Shanfeng to decide. Although the Zhu family fort had the antidote, there was only one pill, and it couldn't cure everyone's blood mist goo poison. However, it was too risky to trust Qinyu. If Qinyu couldn't do anything, he wouldn't even be able to cure one person's blood mist goo poison. The House of Yun's predicament was only going to get worse. They might even start a war with the Zhu family fort because of his decision. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. You're from the Zhu family fort, right? I'll give you 3 seconds to disappear from my sight. At this moment, Qinyu spoke again as he stared at Zhu Jianhan with disdain. What did you say? Zhu Jianhan's eyes darkened as a strong and fierce aura pressed down on Qinyu. Yin Shanfeng's expression changed slightly. Just as he was hesitating whether he should make a move, he saw that Yun Guxuan and Yun, she didn't look worried. When he looked at Qinyu again, what he saw was still Qinyu's arrogant face. It was as if Zhu Jianhan wasn't a martial venerable, but an ordinary martial artist. Could it be that he can still fight against a martial venerable? Yun Shanfeng shook his head as this thought appeared in his mind. He had traveled all over the continent and seen countless geniuses. However, he had never seen a martial king who could fight against a martial venerable. 3 seconds have passed. You can go die now. Qinyu immediately acted upon his words. When the 3 seconds were up, he immediately charged forward like a hurricane. You're courting death. Zhu Jianhan, who has been unable to restrain the killing intent in his heart for a long time, utters a long cry. Sweeping up a tremendous amount of elemental energy, he attacks Qinyu with a punch in an extremely ferocious manner. Roar! However, along with the dragon's roar, Zhu Jianhan's expected attack was forcefully broken. The tip of the spear that was flickering with a cold azure light grew larger in Zhu Jianhan's eyes. An earth-rank spiritual weapon? No, even if it's an earth-rank spiritual weapon, it can't be so powerful. When Zhu Jianhan sensed the grade of the suppressing Hell Divine Spear, his expression turned serious as he immediately retreated. His gaze fell on the azure dragon battle the heavens on Qinyu's body. Dragon Qi? What kind of secret technique is that? How can its combat strength be comparable to a martial venerable? Yin Shanfeng's gaze was fixed as his face turned blank. Not only did Qinyu block the attack of a martial venerable, but he also forced the martial venerable to retreat. Isn't the amplification of this secret technique too terrifying? Spiritual Thorn. Zhu Jianhan quickly regained his senses. As he retreated, he launched another attack. A stream of soul energy invisible to the naked eye turns into a violently rotating soul thorn and attacks Qinyu like a lightning bolt. No matter what secret technique Qinyu had used, he would definitely die in the face of the spiritual thorn. 9 dragons battle the heavens. Qinyu took a step forward, and his figure flickered as he dodged the spiritual thorn. His right hand shook as the azure dragon battled the heavens on the suppressing Hell Divine Spear roared, and turned into 9 azure dragons that attacked Zhu Jianhan. Rumble. A series of deafening explosions rang out continuously. Violent and terrifying energy swept across the area, and the entire palace was completely destroyed. Whoosh! Amidst the violent, true energy and dragon chi, a figure spat out a mouthful of blood as he fled in a sorry state. It was Zhu Jianhan. You didn't listen when I told you to disappear. Now, do you think you can still run away? However, at this moment, an indifferent and cold voice sounded behind Zhu Jianhan. Chapter 94. No, I'm an elder of the Zhu family fort. You can't kill me. Hearing Qin Yu's indifferent voice, which sounded like it came from hell, Zhu Jianhan felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Puff! However, what responded to him was a cold spear tip that pierced through his head. Blood splattered everywhere. Qin Yu calmly put away his spear, took Zhu Jianhan's sumaru ring, and jumped lightly. Bang! Zhu Jianhan's body fell from the sky and turned into a pile of flesh and blood in the ruins of the palace. Zhu Jianhan was killed. Yin Shanfeng still found it hard to believe. A martial venerable whose strength was on par with his died in front of him, just like that. The person who killed Zhu Jianhan was a young man at LV5 Martial King Realm. Where did this young man come from? Before this, Yin Shanfeng only valued Qin Yu's background. But now, Qin Yu was on the same level as him in Yin Shanfeng's eyes. He couldn't figure out what kind of force could cultivate such a monstrous talent. With such talent and strength, he was qualified to be recommended by the prefecture lord to cultivate in the Holy Land. In comparison, Zhu Gang, who had innate spiritual meridians, was as dim as the light of a firefly in front of Qin Yu. Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi were not surprised. After all, 2 martial venerables were defeated by Qin Yu when they joined forces. The Zhenwu royal family was one of the 1,000-year-old clans, and it was also destroyed by Qin Yu. To Qin Yu, killing a revered martial artist was nothing out of the ordinary, but it was not something rare either. However, in this way, the blood feud between Qin Yu and the Yun family fort would be even greater. As one of the 13 forts in Qingzhou, they knew the strength of the Yun family fort. Naturally, they could guess the strength of the Zhu family fort, which was stronger than the Yun family fort. The enemy that Qin Yu was going to face this time was no longer as simple as a member of the imperial family. I have something to ask you. On Qin Yu's body, the azure dragon battling the heavens did not dissipate. He walked towards Yun Shanfeng, Yin Guxuan, and Yin Shi. Sensing the terrifying aura coming from Qin Yu, Yin Shanfeng's face changed, and he immediately went on guard. Even Zhu Jianhan was easily killed by Qin Yu. Naturally, he was not a match for Qin Yu. What is it? Yin Guxuan and Yin Shi, on the other hand, were not as nervous. I want to know, does your family have any news about the dragon's blood? Qin Yu had originally thought that Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi were core members of the Yun family fort. However, judging from Yunfeng's decision to casually deal with Yin Shi, it didn't seem to be the case. In that case, Qin Yu had some doubts about what Yin Guxuan had said about his family having dragon blood. I can guarantee that it was my father who personally sent the news. Hearing the seriousness in Qin Yu's tone, Yin Guxuan also became serious. If Qin Yu thought that the Yun family fort had the intention of deceiving him, it would be a big problem. Now, the Zhu family fort had probably been completely offended. They could only pin their hopes of curing the blood mist goo poison on Qin Yu. Only when the Yun family fort recovered its battle strength would there be a chance to resolve the Zhu family fort incident. The higher-ups of the Yun family fort didn't play any tricks in the dark, right? Qin Yu looked at Yin Shanfeng. It wasn't that he didn't believe Yin Guxuan and Yin Shi. Instead, he was worried that the higher-ups of the Yun family fort would deceive him. Qin Yu didn't care much about offending the Zhu family fort. However, if there was no news about the dragon's blood, and they were fooled, Qin Yu would be unhappy. Young master, you can rest assured that the Yun family fort will never do anything that goes back on our word. Yin Shanfeng's calm and indifferent gaze made him shiver, as if he was being stared at by a ferocious beast. That's good. If I find out that you lied to me. Qingyu took a deep look at Yin Shanfeng. Then, he withdrew the Azure Dragon battle and flew away in a flash. Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi immediately followed after him. Phew! Only after Qingyu left did Yin Shanfeng heave a sigh of relief. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Qingyu's gaze just now made him feel even more pressured. It was as if he was facing a grandmaster expert. Quick! Send a message back to the family. After Yin Shanfeng regained his senses, the first thing he did was to send a message back to the Yun family fort. Zhu Gang and Zhu Jianhan had both died in front of everyone's eyes. This matter couldn't be hidden no matter what. The Zhu family fort's revenge would come at any time. Therefore, he had to inform the Yun family fort to make preparations. Qinyu, Yun Guxuan, and Yun Shi stayed in a restaurant in the city. Junior Qinyu, I'm sorry to have caused you so much trouble. Halfway through the journey, Yun Shi said to Qinyu with a bit of guilt and joy. She felt guilty because she had caused a blood feud between Qinyu and the Zhu family fort. She was happy because she didn't have to marry Zhu Gang. To her, she would rather die than marry Zhu Gang. How powerful is the Zhu family fort? Although Qinyu didn't care about offending the Zhu family fort, he wasn't a brainless and arrogant person. The Zhu family fort's revenge would definitely come. Therefore, he had to understand the Zhu family fort's power. The Zhu family fort is close to the Yun family fort. However, they cover more than 90 counties. They are much more powerful than the Yun family fort. Excluding martial kings and martial monarchs, they have 274 martial honorables on the surface. There are at least 100 to 200 martial honorables hidden in the dark. Yin Guxuan said, "What about martial grandmasters?" Qinyu didn't care about martial honorables. What he cared about was the martial grandmasters. There are a total of 4 martial grandmasters. Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi's faces turned serious when they mentioned the martial grandmasters. In the 13 houses of Qingzhou, martial honorables at the county king level were considered the top experts. However, those at the martial grandmaster level had the absolute right to speak. The Zhu family fort was more powerful than the Yun family fort because they had one more martial grandmaster. Therefore, they were worried that the Zhu family fort would take revenge on Qinyu. Of course, if Qinyu couldn't neutralize the blood mist goo poison, they would be in the most dangerous situation. For martial grandmasters, Qinyu's eyes flashed slightly. They were indeed a force outside the imperial court. Such strength was enough to wipe out the Zhen Wu royal family. However, Qinyu didn't regret killing Zhu Gang, Zhu Jianhan, and the others. Compromising for the general interest and resigning himself to adversity was not his path of martial arts. He had to be courageous and break through all obstacles to reach the peak of martial arts. If he didn't have the heart of a strong expert, his achievements would be limited no matter how talented he was. The current Qinyu was no longer the same as when he had just awakened and did not possess the slightest bit of strength. The next day, Qinyu was teleported to the Yun family fort under the lead of Yin Shanfeng, Yun Guxuan, and Yun Shi. The Falling Cloud Valley was a natural mountain valley with a dangerous terrain. The Yin family fort was located there. There were many pavilions and palaces on the mountain. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In one of the core palaces of the Yun family fort. As the teleportation formation was activated, 4 figures appeared in the palace. A sneak attack. Qinyu, who had just teleported out, felt a gust of wind coming towards them before he even opened his eyes. Judging by the sound of the gust of wind, it was definitely a martial honorable who had reached the peak of martial honorable. Chapter 95. Swoosh. With a flash of his figure, Qinyu disappeared from the conveying array as fast as teleportation. When Qinyu stabilized himself, he could see the situation in the palace clearly. At this moment, there were 100 martial honorables gathered in the palace. The purple-robed man, who was the leader, was even more powerful. He had already entered the martial ancestor realm. A frightening cold light flashed past Qinyu's eyes. The formation in front of him showed that the Yun family fort was premeditated. However, although Qin Yu had escaped, Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi were tied up tightly. Second Fort Master, what are you doing? Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi, who were trapped, looked at the purple-robed man and asked in disbelief. You still have the cheek to ask after causing so much trouble for the family? The purple-robed man was the second Fort Master of the Yun family fort, Yin Hongbin. He was an 8th-stage martial ancestor realm expert. I have already written a letter to my father regarding the cause and effect of this matter. Where's my father? Yin Guxuan seemed to have thought of something after struggling for a while. His gaze changed and he shouted hurriedly. Yin Shi's expression changed. Her father would never agree to the family attacking them. Since he had not appeared, there was only one possibility. As an elder, your father has openly disobeyed the orders of the Elders Guild. He has already been thrown into the dungeon. Yin Hongbin said indifferently. As he spoke, his gaze was fixed on Qin Yu. To be honest, Qin Yu's reaction was so fast that it shocked him. Regardless of the length of the transportation array, it would cross space. Therefore, even a martial honorable who had awakened his soul power would subconsciously faint during the transportation array. However, Qin Yu had detected their attack the moment he was transported out. Even he could not help but praise his reaction speed. No wonder he could kill the martial honorable Zhu Jianhan. Is this the Zhu family fort's intention? Yin Guxuan reacted quickly. He glared angrily. Just because of an antidote, you are giving up the hope of curing the blood fog, goo poison. You are digging your own grave by doing this. You are sending your family to its grave. No one knows if the Zhu family fort's antidote can cure the blood fog goo poison. What if? Bang! Yin Guxuan's roar came to an abrupt stop. Yun Hongbin casually moved his finger, and Yin Guxuan's entire body shook violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. Brother! Yin Shi was filled with grief and indignation. She immediately rushed over and sobbed. It seems that you've been out there for too long that you've completely forgotten the rules of our Yun family fort. Yin Hongbin's eyes were cold. How dare a junior act so presumptuously in front of him? If it weren't for the Zhu family fort's condition that Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi had to be buried alive. That strike just now, Yin Guxuan could forget about surviving. A cold light flashed in Qin Yu's eyes. It seemed that Yin Guxuan and his wife had not colluded with the Yun family fort to deliberately harm him. Second Castle Lord, didn't you say to let him try and see if he can resolve the blood mist goo poison before making a decision? Why did he suddenly, seeing Qin Yu's cold and indifferent gaze sweep over him, Yin Shanfeng, who had yet to understand what was going on, suddenly came to his senses. Why? Are you also going to question my decision? Yin Hongbin looked indifferently at Yin Shanfeng. No, that's definitely not what I meant. I just feel that since he can resolve the 10,000 poisoning dragons' poison, he might really have a way to resolve the blood mist goo poison. By then, our Yun family fort's martial arts grandmasters will be able to recover to their peak condition. In the future, we won't have to be restrained by the Zhu family fort and other forces. Yin Tianfeng's body stiffened as he hurriedly said. There were a total of 3 martial arts grandmasters in the Yun family fort. It was also because of these 3 martial arts grandmasters that the Yun family fort could become one of the 13 forts in Qingzhou and dominate 72 counties. However, the unforeseen event a year ago had caused 2 martial arts grandmasters in the Yun family fort to be poisoned by the blood mist goo poison. Since then, the Yun family fort's position in Qingzhou had become rather subtle. Everyone knew that once the Yun family fort lost 2 martial arts grandmasters, it would become a huge disaster. This huge force that had been famous in Qingzhou for many years would immediately collapse. The resources that the House of Yun had hoarded had always been a source of envy for many factions in the Green State. Do you think that I'm as stupid as you? That I'm going to bet the future of the family on a young lad? Yin Hongbin reprimanded sternly. What I mean is that since we won't lose anything, there's no harm in trying. Yin Shanfeng said obsequiously. Upon hearing Yin Shanfeng's words, many of the hundreds of martial venerables in the palace looked at each other. Obviously, they also felt that Yin Shanfeng's words were not without reason. Those who are present now are the direct descendants of the Yun family fort. I'm sure you're very curious as to why the envoys sent by the Zhu family fort last night have not left yet, right? Yun Hongbin swept his gaze across everyone's expressions and spoke in a dignified manner. Many of the warriors in the palace looked at Yun Hongbin. They were indeed very curious as to why the Zhu family fort would send a simple envoys at this time. After all, Zhu gang had been killed. The Zhu family fort would either not come, or they would come with a large force. Because Zhu gang was killed, the marriage alliance between our two clans naturally had to be canceled. However, the antidote that the Zhu family fort proposed to give us remains unchanged. Yun Hongbin said in a dignified manner. However, the condition is that the three main culprits must be handed over to the Zhu family fort's envoys to be brought back for punishment. I know that Yin Guxuan is a very talented junior of our clan. However, for the sake of the Yin family fort, I have no choice but to do this. Because the antidote that the Zhu family fort is offering is the 5 elements spiritual pill that was personally refined by the alchemy grandmaster of the Water Fairy Holy Land. Yun Hongbin's face was full of righteousness. 5 elements spiritual pill? Rumor has it that the supreme pill that can neutralize 10,000 poisons of the 5 elements. If this is the case, the blood mist goo poison can be neutralized 100%. Indeed, this way, the crisis of the Yun family fort will be greatly alleviated. Moreover, with 2 martial ancestor realm experts, one can stay in the clan and the other can go out to search for other antidotes. Hearing Yun Hongbin's words, the expressions of the martial honorables changed. As for Yun Guxuan and Yun Shi, no one cared about their lives. After all, they were the reason why the situation had turned out this way. Using their deaths in exchange for the clan to survive this crisis was a very worthwhile transaction. Junior Qinyu, if you can escape, then quickly do so. Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi's expressions were filled with grief and indignation. There was obvious despair and guilt. They knew that since the higher-ups had made this decision, there was no turning back. Qinyu glanced at Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi and shook his head slightly. He could see that Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi were indeed wholeheartedly trying to escape the predicament of the Yun family fort. However, it was a pity that the words of a lowly person were exchanged for an ending where they could not even control their own fate. In this world, strength spoke louder than words. Escape? Things have already come to this point. Don't even think about escaping. Obediently surrender. Yin Hongbin laughed coldly and raised his right hand. Over 100 martial honorables surged with a tyrannical aura as they prepared to attack. Surrender without a fight? Huh. Facing a martial ancestor and 100 martial honorables, Qin Yu's lips curled into a disdainful smile. He was not afraid at all. Accompanied by a dragon's roar, a domineering aura that seemed to look down on the world emanated from Qin Yu's body and engulfed the entire palace. If you want to die, then go ahead and try. Chapter 96. Martial Honorable. In the palace, all the martial honorables in the Yin family fort looked at Qin Yu in shock. No matter how they looked at it, Qin Yu was only 16 or 17 years old. A 16 or 17-year-old martial honorable. This arrogant. However, when Yun Hongbin heard Qin Yu's words, his face darkened and a fiery aura exploded. In an instant, the entire palace seemed to have become a furnace, and the power of the fire was shocking. The force of heaven and earth of a martial honorable caused the martial honorables to come back to their senses. You have just comprehended the force of heavenly fire to the first level. Huh! The disdain at the corner of Qin Yu's mouth grew. As the name suggested, the force of heaven and earth referred to the force of heaven and earth. According to the strength of the force of heaven and earth, martial artists were divided into 10 levels. Yun Hongbin's cultivation had reached level 8 martial honorable realm, but his force of heaven and earth had only reached level 1. This showed how poor his talent was. If a martial honorable realm martial artist wanted to advance to Wusheng, he had to completely comprehend the force of heaven and earth. The comprehension of the force of heaven and earth could not be achieved with the help of elixirs. In other words, Yin Hongbin would never be able to advance to Wusheng in his lifetime. Some martial artists who had a deep understanding of the force of heaven and earth could even defeat him easily, even if their cultivation was a few levels lower. After reaching the martial king realm, one would officially embark on the path of martial longevity. At this time, if one continued to increase his cultivation, it would be equivalent to destroying his own future. Lad, I don't care what kind of connections and background you have outside. However, this is the territory of the Yun family fort. You had better know your place. Yin Hongbin stared coldly at Qin Yu. What can you do to me? Qin Yu did not take a martial honorable realm who had only comprehended the force of heaven and earth to heart. He did not care about the situation of the Yun family fort at all. Since Yin Hongbin had given the order to attack him, he would not show mercy. He might as well kill Yin Hongbin. You're courting death. Qin Yu's overconfident words completely infuriated Yin Hongbin. As a martial Dao grandmaster, how could he be humiliated by a kid? Immediately, Yin Hongbin's body began to burn with surging, tide-like flames. Streaks of fire serpents danced wildly in the air like a group of demons. Their power was astonishing. Reckless fool. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light, and a spirit array disc appeared in his right hand. As the spirit inscriptions lit up, the spirit array disc was like a ferocious beast that had just awakened, and a monstrous killing intent began to stir. Stop! Just as Yin Hongbin and Qin Yu were on the verge of fighting, a dignified voice rang out. However, that dignified voice was filled with obvious weakness. Castle Lord, as his voice rang out, the martial honorables in the palace all turned their heads and made way for him. A group of people walked over. The man in the lead was about 40 to 50 years old. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes, and his face was filled with righteousness. However, his complexion was extremely pale and weak. It was obvious that he was severely injured. This man was the castle lord of the Yun family fort, Yun Bahai. When Yin Hongbin saw Yun Bahai, his expression changed slightly before returning to normal. When Qin Yu saw this, a strange look flashed in his eyes. Gu Xianxir. Beside Yun Bahai was a middle-aged man in a green robe. His facial features were similar to Yun Guxian's. This green-robed man was Yun Guxian and Yun Shi's father, the ninth elder of the Yun family fort. Yun Tianhe, father. When Yun Guxian and Yun Shi saw their father and the castle lord, they became excited. Hongbin, what are you doing? Yun Bahai frowned. After he ordered Yun Guxian and Yun Shi to be released, he looked at Yin Hongbin. Castle lord, I am doing this for the future of the Yun family fort. I have no choice. They killed Zhu Gang. If we don't hand them over to the Zhu family fort, not only will the Zhu family fort not give us the 5-element spiritual pills to cure the blood misgu poison, they will also start a war with us. Yin Hongbin said righteously. Do you know where the Zhu family fort got the 5-element spiritual pills from? Yin Bahai asked. Are the pills fake? Yin Hongbin's expression changed. I asked Zichen to check the water fairy's sacred ground overnight. Among the rewards that the sacred ground gave to the Zhu family fort, there was no 5-element spiritual pills. Yin Bahai said, Does this mean that the Zhu family fort has been lying to us since the beginning? Upon hearing Yin Bahai's words, not only Yin Hongbin, but all the martial honorables in the palace changed their expressions. Since the pills were fake, it was obvious what the Zhu family fort was up to. Zhu Gang was killed, but the Zhu family fort was still willing to give us the 5-element spiritual pills. Have you never thought that there is something fishy about this? You even kidnapped a direct descendant of the Zhu family fort to apologize? Stupid. Yin Bahai said sternly. You are right, Castle Lord. This time I was reckless. Yin Hongbin's face turned green and red. He lowered his head and admitted his mistake. However, there was hatred in his eyes. Young man, you must be young Master Qin Yu, right? Yin Bahai did not see the hatred in Yin Hongbin's eyes. He cupped his fist at Qin Yu and smiled. As he spoke, he looked at Qin Yu seriously. The more he looked at him, the more shocked Yin Bahai became. Within Qin Yu's domineering aura, there was actually a power that even he could faintly sense danger. Although he had been poisoned by the blood mist goo poison, his combat strength was still at the peak of the martial Grandmaster realm. If not, the Yin family fort would have been eaten by those evil wolves who were waiting for an opportunity. However, Qin Yu actually gave him a sense of danger. This involuntarily caused Yin Bahai to become even more curious about Qin Yu. His hope of curing the poison had also increased even more. "Nice to meet you," Qin Yu replied calmly. Just now, the Yin family fort had been besieged. He did not have a good impression of a Yin family fort. Just now, the Yin family fort was presumptuous. "I hope young master can forgive me. I will punish myself with 3 cups of wine later to apologize to young master." Yin Bahai could also see that Qin Yu was a little unhappy. He immediately spoke warmly. "Forget about apologizing. I have conditions for getting rid of the poison." Qin Yu went straight to the point and said, "But I want to know if the Yin family fort really has the conditions that I mentioned earlier." After the incident with Yin Hongbin, he had completely lost trust in the Yin family fort. "Young master, don't worry. As long as you can get rid of the blood mist goo poison, I will immediately give you the conditions that you mentioned." Yin Bahai did not care about Qin Yu's attitude and continued to speak with a smile. "No, I want it now." Qin Yu lifted his eyelids and looked straight at Yin Bahai. "What do you mean? Do you think that the dignified Yin family fort would commit such a despicable act of fraud?" Qin Yu's continuous questioning made Yin Hongbin very unhappy. The revered martial artists of the Yin family fort also showed anger on their faces. Yin Guxuan and Yun, she looked at the tense atmosphere and did not know what to do for a moment. "I was invited to get rid of the poison. The moment I arrived at the Yin family fort, I was surrounded by all of you. Do you think that the Yin family fort still has any credibility in my heart?" Qin Yu's voice was indifferent. If not for the news of the dragon's blood, Yin Hongbin would have been a dead man by now. A mere martial grandmaster dared to set a trap for the dignified dragon god sovereign. He was simply tired of living. Chapter 97. Then how do we know that you're not trying to gain something without risking anything? Yin Hongbin's face darkened and his gaze turned cold. "Maybe you don't even know how to cure the blood mist goo poison. Then find someone else. However, it won't be so easy to invite me again next time." Qin Yu's indifferent voice had a hint of a sneer. "Shut up." Yin Bahai immediately scolded Yin Hongbin when he saw the situation. Then, an ancient scroll appeared in his hand. Yin Bahai felt that Qin Yu's indifferent attitude was a sign of absolute confidence. The conditions that young master proposed are recorded here. Yin Bahai generously handed the ancient scroll to Qin Yu. Another map. Qin Yu did not stand on ceremony and took the ancient scroll. He was confident that he could completely cure the blood mist goo poison, provided that the Yin family fort could provide him with the information of the dragon's blood. Blood mist demon stream. However, upon opening it, Qin Yu saw that there were 4 ancient characters on the ancient scroll. "Are you sure that this place has what I want?" Qin Yu asked. "It definitely has, but whether you can get it or not depends on your luck." Yin Bahai said with certainty. "Where's this place?" Qin Yu asked. "Blood Mist Demon Stream is a forbidden area in Qing Province. It is very famous in Qing Province." Yin Bahai moved his right hand and handed a map of Qing Province to Qin Yu. "Blood Mist Demon Stream? Isn't that the place where the fort master and the rest were poisoned?" Yin Guxuan and Yun Shi's expressions changed slightly. "Then let's start the cure." Qin Yu kept the map and the ancient scroll and walked out of the palace. "Start now?" Yin Bahai and the rest were stunned. "Qin Yu, don't you need to check their condition? Prepare all the spiritual herbs on this list and prepare a secret chamber." Qin Yu took out a prescription filled with tens of thousands of heaven and earth spirit herbs and handed it to Yin Bahai. "Quick, get ready." Yin Bahai reacted and immediately handed the prescription to Wu Zun of the Yin family fort. Seeing Qin Yu's calm and composed demeanor, not only Yin Bahai, but everyone else in the Yin family fort couldn't help but feel hopeful. If he didn't have true ability, he wouldn't have been so calm. Could this kid really be able to cure the blood mist goo poison? The corners of Yun Hongbin's eyes twitched imperceptibly. After Yun Bahai and the others left with Qin Yu, Yun Hongbin summoned a trusted martial saint. After whispering something to the trusted martial saint, Yun Hongbin quickly caught up with Yun Bahai and the rest. Half an hour later, in the Skycloud Pavilion of the Yun family fort. This was the place where the first fort masters of the Yun family fort cultivated. The scenery was extremely beautiful, and it gathered the heaven and earth spirit Qi. The secret chamber that Yun Bahai prepared for Qin Yu was here. As one of the 13 forts of Qinzhou, the Yun family fort's foundation was naturally very strong. Although Qin Yu's prescription for heaven and earth spirit herbs was quite precious, it was quickly found. Despite that, the House of Yun managed to gather all of them within the short span of an hour. Not only that, but there were also several sets of them. Young Master Qin Yu, don't you need to examine our poisoning situation for a bit? At this moment, Yun Bahai and a bald man were sitting cross-legged in the Skycloud Pavilion with a hopeful look on their faces. In front of them was Qin Yu, who had taken out a cauldron and was refining the heaven and earth spirit herbs in an orderly manner. You have been poisoned by the blood, mist goo poison of the 5 elements. It has already penetrated deep into your bone marrow, flesh, and blood, and even seeped into your internal organs. Even your true essence is faintly there, right? Qin Yu said lightly. However, Qin Yu's words made Yun Bahai and the bald man's expressions change. They were extremely shocked. Even in the Yun family fort, these confidential conditions were only known to the core elders. Qin Yu didn't even need to check. He just took a look and knew their condition. This level of attainment in the art of alchemy was simply shocking. The Yun family fort elders and martial saints gathered outside the Skycloud Pavilion were also whispering to each other excitedly. Just this move alone was enough for Qin Yu to leave those alchemy masters who were full of confidence in their dust. Young Master is really a medical saint. Yun Bahai and the bald man also became more respectful and enthusiastic towards Qin Yu. Their situation was just as Qin Yu said. Their true essence had gradually seeped into the blood mist goo poison. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before they couldn't even use their true essence and could only wait for death. You two get ready. One detoxifies the poison, the other guards. The others stay 20 feet away from the pavilion. During the detoxification period, no one is allowed to come close and disturb us. When all the heaven and earth spirit herbs were refined into detoxification spirit liquid and spirit pills, Qin Yu took out a row of silver needles. Yun Bahai and the bald man's situation was different from by Qin Yu's myriad poison inky flood dragon. This time, it couldn't be simply detoxified with detoxification spirit liquid and spirit pills. Fort Lord, I'll stay here to guard you. At this time, Yun Hongbin entered the pavilion and took the initiative to ask for help. Get out. Before Yun Bahai could speak, Qin Yu spoke coldly. Young Master Qin Yu, I was indeed rash before, but now. Yun Hongbin's eyes changed slightly and immediately spoke with a smile. I told you to get out. Qin Yu looked coldly at Yun Hongbin. Hongbin, go outside and guard. Don't let anyone in. Seeing that Qin Yu was a little angry, Yun Bahai and the bald man quickly spoke. They were afraid that Qin Yu would get angry and refuse to detoxify them. Yes. Yun Hongbin took a gloomy and cold glance at Qin Yu and then left the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. You two, who's going first? Yun Bahai seemed to want to explain Yun Hongbin's actions, but Qin Yu was already prepared. I'll go first. Yun Bahai and the bald man looked at each other and the latter walked out. After all, they still didn't know how good Qin Yu's detoxification method was. As the strongest martial grandmaster of the Yun family, Yun Bahai naturally couldn't take the risk. During the detoxification process, my true essence will enter your body. You can't use your true essence and force of heaven and earth to resist. After Qin Yu repeatedly warned that bald man, Qin Yu said then, he looked at Yun Bahai. Fort Lord Yun, when I detoxify, I can't be disturbed in the slightest. Otherwise, both of us will suffer from the backlash. So, no matter who it is, once they have the tendency to approach the Skycloud Pavilion, kill them without mercy. Remember, no matter who it is, even if it's the clansmen of the Yun family fort. Hearing Qin use serious words, Yun Bahai nodded heavily. Young master, don't worry about the detoxification. Although he didn't know why Qin Yu was so serious. This matter concerned the future of the Yun family fort, so Yun Bahai was naturally very concerned. Swoosh! Swoosh! After making the arrangements, Qin Yu immediately took action. In the void, streaks of silver light flashed. It was the battle dragon true essence on the silver needles, which accurately pierced the acupuncture points on the bald man's body. Yin Bahai, who had been paying attention to Qin Yu's actions, couldn't help but exclaim softly when he saw the silver needles. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the silver needles seemed to be arranged into a formation. Open your mouth. Qin Yu flicked his finger and threw the detoxification elixirs one by one into the bald man's mouth. The elixirs melted as soon as they entered his mouth, constantly purifying and expelling the blood mist goo poison in his body. Poochie. Immediately, 5-colored black blood flowed out from the acupuncture points where the silver needles were pierced. It seemed that even the silver needles were faintly dyed a faint black color, which showed how strong the poison was. Chapter 98. Yin Bahai was shocked, but Qin Yu's expression was indifferent, as if he did not care. Soon, more and more blood, mist, goo poison flowed out of the silver needles. But strangely, the black blood seemed to be restrained by an invisible force and gathered in the silver needles. As more and more black blood gathered, Qin Yu completely condensed it into a pitch-black blood pill. When there was no more blood mist goo poison in the bald man's body, Qin Yu took out the blood pill. This blood pill, condensed from the 5 poisons of the blood mist goo, was extremely poisonous to warriors. But to the 10,000 poison inky dragon, it was a natural supplement, and its cultivation would definitely increase greatly. And the stronger the 10,000 poison inky dragon was, the stronger the dragon soul's battle strength would be. When the blood mist goo poison in his flesh and organs were purified, the bald man's face clearly became rosy. When Yun Bahai saw this, he couldn't hide his excitement, and his face was filled with excitement. Even without Qin Yu's words, he could tell that the poison in the bald man's body had been neutralized. What is this kid's background? Yin Hongbin, who was guarding outside the loft, also noticed this scene. But for some reason, the bald man did not seem very happy when the blood mist goo poison was neutralized. After neutralizing the blood mist goo poison in his flesh, Qin Yu stretched out his left hand. Battle Dragon Primeval Essence turned into threads and mixed with the poison neutralization liquid before entering the bald man's dantian. Following a faint dragon roar, the Battle Dragon Primeval Essence gathered into an ancient seal. A strange suction force appeared, and the blood mist goo poison in the primeval core was automatically sucked into the ancient seal. But strangely, the primeval essence in the dantian was not damaged because of this. Yin Bahai didn't know what had happened, but the bald man was full of admiration for Qin Lai. Qin Yu's control of primeval essence made him feel inferior. The neutralization of the primeval core poison lasted for 2 hours. When the last wisp of blood mist goo poison in the primeval core was neutralized, Qin Yu extracted his primeval essence. His primeval essence had already turned completely black. That's enough. Qin Yu cut off the ink-black true essence and stored it in a J-box. So fast, although more than 2 hours had passed, Yun Bahai did not feel that much time had passed. He originally thought that it would take at least a few days for it to be completely resolved. Try using your perception, Qin Yu said to the bald man. When the bald man heard this, he immediately checked the condition of his body. After a while, his face was filled with excitement and ecstasy. Thank you, young master, for saving my life. If you need me, Yin Kuang, in the future, feel free to tell me. That bald man stood up and solemnly bowed deeply to Qin Yu. It's just a transaction. There's no need for such a grand gesture, Qin Yu said calmly. What young master has done is no less than giving our Yun family fort a new lease on life. After checking on Yun Kuang's condition, Yun Batian also thanked Qin Yu solemnly. It seems that the blood mist goo poison has really been resolved. It should be. Otherwise, the first and third fort lords would not be so excited to bow. That's great. This way, our Yun family fort will not be provoked by other forces. The Yun family fort marshal honors outside the loft noticed the situation inside, and were all very excited and happy. All right, it's your turn. In the loft, Qin Yu did not waste any time and immediately prepared to detoxify Yun Bahai's poison. After detoxifying the poison, he only wanted to go to the blood mist devil stream as soon as possible to see if there was really dragon blood. When Yun Bahai heard this, he sat cross-legged in front of Qin Yu and withdrew the true essence in his body. However, after inserting the silver needles, Yun Bahai heard Qin Yu's soft exclamation, and his heart could not help but skip a beat. Young Master Qin Yu, is there a problem? Yin Kuang came over and asked carefully. The time you were poisoned is different? Qin Yu asked. We were both poisoned in the blood mist devil stream. The time before and after should be about the same. Yin Kuang replied. Qin Yu nodded slightly and did not say anything else. Then, he continued to detoxify Yun Bahai's blood poison. However, the time it took was much longer than Yin Kuang's. This time, even Yun Bahai and Yin Kuang felt that something was wrong. Whoosh! Just as Qin Yu was about to detoxify the true essence poison in Yun Bahai's primordial core, a figure used the dense heaven and earth spirit chi of the Cloud Sky Pavilion as cover and quickly rushed toward the Cloud Sky Pavilion. I'll take care of it. Qin Yu immediately noticed, and Yin Kuang's reaction was not slow either. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and sharp wind blades immediately appeared in the air around him. This was the force of heaven and earth, the force of astral wind that he had comprehended. Pucci. The figure had just entered the Cloud Sky Pavilion when it was engulfed by countless wind blades and turned into a pool of blood mist. The martial practitioners of the Yun family fort around the Cloud Sky Pavilion heard the commotion and immediately gathered. Don't let anyone in. Qin Yu frowned slightly. As expected, there was something fishy inside the Yun family fort. Don't worry. Yin Kuang's face was cold as he moved his hands. The wind rose with his true essence and turned into millions of wind blades, forming 4 wind walls. The people of the Yun family fort who were about to enter the pavilion stopped in their tracks, and their faces were filled with joy. Looking at Yin Kuang's appearance, it was obvious that he had completely recovered. Although Yun Hongbin also had a smile on his face, there was a strange look in his eyes. Time passed by quietly. For hours later, the blood mist poison in Yun Bahai's primordial core had been completely detoxified. Yun Bahai and Yin Kuang naturally thanked Qin Yu again. By the way, young Master Qin Yu, why did you ask if we were poisoned for the same amount of time? However, Yun Bahai was still very concerned about Qin Yu's question. The blood mist goo poison in your body is almost twice as strong as his. If we were poisoned for the same amount of time, then your blood mist goo poison should have been catalyzed a second time. Qin Yu did not hide anything and said directly, You mean that someone made the blood mist goo poison in my body worsen? Yin Bahai's expression could not help but change. Yin Kuang was also shocked. That's right. I think that someone must have done something to the spirit medicine you took. I can't say exactly when, but it should have happened within the past 2 months. Qin Yu said. Yin Bahai and Yin Kuang looked at each other, and a strong killing intent flashed across their eyes. Was it the Zhu family fort, or was it a mole arranged by other forces? After Qin Yu successfully neutralized Yin Bahai and Yin Kuang's poison, the whole Yin family fort was naturally very grateful to Qin Yu. They even held a big banquet to thank Qin Yu. Qin Yu wanted to refuse and immediately go to the blood mist devil stream. However, Yin Bahai suggested that he personally take Qinyu to the Blood Mist Devil Stream after the celebration banquet. Therefore, Qinyu decided to stay. The fact that Yin Bahai and Yin Kuang's poison was neutralized made the whole Yin family fort happy. At the celebration banquet, all the members of the Yin family fort raised their glasses to celebrate. Even the women like Yin, she drank to their heart's content. Qinyu, who was talking to Yin Bahai, suddenly seemed to sense something and looked in a certain direction. Who is it? Who dares to barge into the Yin family fort? Yin Bahai, Yin Kuang, and Yin Hongbin reacted quickly. They immediately stood up and flew into the sky. Brother Yin has organized such a big celebration banquet. How can I not come to celebrate? An arrogant laughter came from a building in the distance. The voice was loud and could be heard from far and near. Chapter 99. Martial Grandmaster Realm. The expressions of the Yin family fort's ancient martial art practitioners changed. That voice contained the fluctuations of the power of heaven and earth. This is Zhu Lingfeng. Yin Bahai's gaze changed slightly as he looked at the figures flying out of the buildings in the distance. There were quite a number of figures, about 300 to 400. They were all experts from the Zhu family fort. The 3 people in the lead were the 3 fort masters of the Zhu family fort. They were also the 3 martial grandmasters. Oh no, the Zhu family fort is attacking. Don't worry, the Zhu family fort only sent 3 martial grandmasters this time. It seems that they still don't know that the 1st and 3rd fort masters have been cured of the poison. The ancient martial art practitioners from the Yin family fort, who were celebrating, flew into the sky and gathered behind Yin Bahai and the other 2. Zhu Lingfeng, you brought so many people from the Zhu family fort. Are you here to start a war with the Yin family fort? Yin Bahai stared unkindly at the man in black, who was the leader of the 3 martial grandmasters from the Zhu family fort. Brother Yin, you are exaggerating. Our 2 clans have always been on good terms. Now that we have a marriage alliance, why would I bring people here to start a war? The leader, Zhu Lingfeng, had a big smile on his rough face. There was no trace of killing intent. However, when he saw that Yin Bahai and Yin Kuang had really cured the blood mist goo poison completely, he was shocked. An obvious look of shock flashed across Zhu Lingfeng's eyes. Then what are you trying to do by bringing so many people here? Yin Bahai frowned slightly. The calmer Zhu Lingfeng was, the more vigilant he was. He did not think that the Zhu family fort had come in such an aggressive manner just to celebrate. Of course, he could not figure it out. As he spoke, Yin Bahai had already ordered the Yin family fort to activate terrifying killing formations. As long as the Zhu family fort dared to make a move, they would immediately unleash a fatal attack. I'm sure Brother Yin knows that my grandnephew was killed. Therefore, I'm here today to take away my grandnephew's murderer. I hope Brother Yin can make things easy for me. As Zhu Lingfeng spoke, his cold gaze fell on Qinyu. It was all because of Qinyu. The Zhu family fort's prodigy with innate spiritual meridians had been killed, and the Yin family fort's plan had been disrupted. At this moment, Zhu Lingfeng wished he could tear Qinyu into pieces. I really can't do that. Yin Bahai rejected him coldly. Qinyu had just cured their blood mist goo poison. They were indebted to him for rebirth. How could they hand Qinyu over to Zhu Jiabao? Brother Yin, are you really going to harm the harmony between our 2 races for an outsider? The smile on Zhu Lingfeng's face gradually disappeared. Is there still any harmony between our races? A cold light flashed in Yin Bahai's eyes. The worsening of the blood mist goo poison in his body was most likely related to the Zhu family fort. Good, very good. Yin Bahai, since you want to destroy your Yin family fort for this little bastard, don't blame me for ignoring our old friendship. At this point, Zhu Lingfeng's murderous intent could no longer be concealed. It suddenly erupted and swept through the clouds. You want to destroy my Yin family fort? Huh. Let's see who will be the one to die. Since they had completely fallen out with each other, Yin Bahai immediately gave the order. In the Yin family fort, Rays of light shone from the formation inscriptions. The frightening fluctuations of the spiritual weapons were quietly released and spread out like a ferocious beast that was about to awaken. The martial supremacies, martial emperors, and martial kings of the Yun family fort also took out their spiritual weapons and were all filled with murderous intent. "Ha! Yumbahai, you're still so stubborn even when you are about to die." Zhu Lingfeng laughed heartily when he heard this, as if victory was already in his hands. The people of the Yun family fort were all puzzled and became more vigilant. "Enough with the nonsense. Since you want to fight, then how can it be? You can't circulate your true essence?" Just as Yun Bahai was about to attack, his expression abruptly changed. He realized that the true essence in his body was completely silent at this moment and could not circulate at all. It was not only Yun Bahai, Yun Hongbin, and Yun Kuang, but also the core martial supremacies of the Yun family fort. Their true essence was also silent at this moment, as if it had been sealed. Immediately, everyone who was flying in the sky fell down one after another like dumplings. "Fort Master, what's going on? What happened?" The martial emperors and martial kings of the Yun family fort came to their senses and immediately caught Yun Bahai and the others. Falling from such a high altitude, even a martial grandmaster would die without a doubt. As expected, Qin Yu glanced at Yun Bahai, Yun Kuang, and Yun Hongbin with a strange look in his eyes. "Zhu Lingfeng, what did you do?" After trying a few times and failing to circulate his true essence, Yun Bahai's heart sank, and he was filled with despair. Now that the top executives of the Yun family fort were all banned, the Yun family fort was like a fish on a chopping block. "I didn't do anything. I just poisoned you with the odorless spirit dissolving powder. I paid a high price to get this from the Heavenly Pill Alliance. How do you feel?" Zhu Lingfeng and the others flew over and looked down at Yun Bahai. "Who is it?" The corners of Yun Bahai's eyes twitched, and the killing intent in his eyes surged. The person who poisoned them with the spirit-dissolving powder was definitely a core member of the Yun family fort. That was also the reason why Yun Bahai's killing intent surged. The Yun family fort had stood tall for thousands of years. Now, it had fallen into the hands of one of their own. "Haha, do you think that I will tell you? You can go to hell with your eyes wide open." Zhu Lingfeng looked up to the sky and laughed wildly, arrogant and wanton. After annexing the Yun family fort, the Zhu family fort would become the most powerful force in the 13 houses of Qingzhou. In the future, they would become stronger and gradually annex the 13 houses. Then, the Zhu family fort could become an existence like the 5 great sanctuaries. "Little bastard, how dare you kill my grandnephew? Do you think that the Yun family fort can protect you?" Then, Zhu Lingfeng looked at Qin Yu, and his bone-chilling killing intent surged. "Why? Do you think that victory is already in your hands?" Faced with the killing intent of a Wu Zong, Qin Yu smiled faintly and walked to Yun Bahai's side. "Roar!" Before he finished speaking, a dragon roar sounded and a cold spear radiance that contained a terrifying killing intent suddenly pierced towards someone as fast as lightning. Whoosh! The person who was attacked by Qin Yu felt the terrifying killing intent of the suppressing divine spear, and his gaze changed slightly. His figure flashed, and he immediately fled. That person was Yun Hongbin. Hongbin, second fort master. Could it be this sudden change of events caused the Zhu family fort and the others to react half a beat slower? Yun Bahai, Yun Kuang, and the others looked at Yun Bahai, who was floating in mid-air with his true essence surging. They were in disbelief. Among the higher-ups of the Yun family fort, only Yun Hongbin was not poisoned. Naturally, it was easy to imagine what this meant. This Breck can actually tell that I'm not poisoned. Who exactly is he? Yun Hongbin's expression was extremely ugly as he stared coldly at Qin Yu. The originally flawless plan had been ruined by Qin Yu. Fortunately, now that Yun Bahai and the others have been poisoned, Qin Yu alone is simply powerless to reverse the situation. "Yun Hongbin, did you poison us?" Yun Bahai suddenly became agitated. His body trembled as he roared furiously. "Fort Master, There's no need to ask such obvious questions. A cold smile appeared on Yun Hongbin's face as he looked indifferently at Yun Bahai. You bastard! How dare you betray the family? You! Yun Bahai was so angry that he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 100. Yun Hongbin, why did you do this? Yun Kuang, Yun Tianhe, and the other senior members of the Yun family stared at Yun Hongbin angrily. Despite their anger, they could not understand. As one of the 3 martial arts grandmasters in the Yun family fort, why would Yun Hongbin betray the Yun family fort? Don't call me by this name in the future. I've heard it for a few years, and I'm tired of it. Yun Hongbin gave an answer after a strange smile. He moved his right hand over his face and tore off a piece of his face, revealing an unfamiliar face. At this moment, an obvious change occurred to his body. It had become even more muscular and sturdy. At this moment, all the martial artists in the Yun family fort were dumbfounded. Who are you? Yun Bahai was stunned as he stared blankly at Yun Hongbin, who had revealed his identity. Let me introduce you. This is the famous 100 Faces Hades King from the Unseen Pavilion. Zhu Lingfeng laughed loudly. Unseen Pavilion? Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly as he recalled the few revered realm martial artists that the Shui clan had invited. Before they died, they seemed to have said that they were from the Unseen Pavilion. It seemed that the Unseen Pavilion had some secrets. At the very least, Qin Yu was curious about this secret technique that could not only disguise one's appearance, but also one's body. This was because even he could not see through this person's disguise technique. Are you Mosen Ro, the legendary heaven-grade assassin who can disguise himself as anyone in the assassination world? Yin Kuang and the others seemed to have heard of this person in disguise. Their expressions changed drastically. Kid, you're not simple. The spirit-dissolving powder did not work on you. After glancing at Yun Bahai indifferently, Mosenro looked at Qin Yu with a strange look in his eyes. If it was the spirit-transforming powder, perhaps I would be a little wary. But the spirit-transforming powder is too low-level. Qin Yu smiled. Qin Yu sealed the wine to the dragon's soul the moment he sensed the detoxification powder in the wine. The myriad poisons inky flood dragon fed on all poisons in the world. This poison-dissolving powder just happened to be a great tonic for the 10,000 poisons inky flood dragon. Where's Hongbin? What did you do to him? At this moment, Yunbahai came back to his senses. His sharp eyes looked at Zhu Lingfeng and Mosenrel. He died 3 years ago. I had to interrogate him for an entire month before I was able to disguise myself, so well that you guys didn't notice any flaws even after several years. Mosenro's indifferent eyes flickered with a faint bloodthirsty light in China. Hearing this, everyone in the Yun family fort became even more furious. Their murderous intent soared. The Yun family fort and the Unseen Pavilion have always minded their own business. Why are you attacking us? Yin Kuang roared at Mosenro angrily. The Unseen Pavilion was a very famous assassination organization in Qingzhou. However, they had always operated in the dark. No one had ever heard of them being openly involved in any power disputes. Mosenro was the Unseen Pavilion's famous heaven-level assassin. However, he had been lurking in the Yun family fort for several years. There must be a huge conspiracy behind this. However, Yin Kuang could not figure out what they were plotting. Why? I think Fort Lord Yun has already guessed it, right? A fiery greed flashed across Mosenro's eyes. Is it because I repeatedly refused to let you enter the ancestral burial ground? That's why you poisoned us with the blood mist goo poison. Now, you're working with the Zhu family fort. After Yun Bahai's expression changed, he finally understood the cause and effect of this matter. After learning about Mosenro's true identity, Yun Bahai recalled Mosenro's past actions and quickly guessed Mosenro's motive. Fort Lord Yun is indeed smart. Actually, if you had let me enter the Yun family fort's Wusheng burial ground earlier, this might not have happened. The greed in Mosenro's eyes intensified. Wusheng's burial ground? What does that mean? Among the people in the Yun family fort, other than Yun Bahai, The other clansmen were confused. They knew about the ancestral burial ground. It had always been a restricted area in the family. No one was allowed to go near it. However, why did Mosenro say that it was Wu Sheng's burial ground? Qin Yu was slightly surprised. Could it be that Wu Sheng had appeared in this small Yun family fort before? I forgot that this is the biggest secret passed down by word of mouth in the Yun family fort. Only the fort lord of each generation has the qualifications to know about it, right? Mosenro's gaze swept across the Yun family fort clansmen and chuckled. I can bring you into the ancestral burial ground, but you have to release my clansmen. Yin Bahai said bitterly. Although he did not know how this news had spread to Zhujiang, at this point, there was no point in keeping the secret passed down for generation to generation in the family. Do you think that you are qualified to negotiate with me now? Mosenro smiled coldly and stared at Yun Bahai indifferently. Only I know the way to enter Wu Sheng's burial ground. If you don't release my clansmen, I will kill myself here immediately. You can forget about getting what you want. Yin Bahai did not back down and said coldly, At this point, do you think that I will still let you kill yourself? Before his voice died away, Mosenro flicked his finger and a black light shot toward Yin Bahai like lightning. Clang! Yin Bahai's pupils shrank and a determined look appeared in his eyes, just as he was about to bite his tongue and commit suicide. A streak of green light flashed through the air as fast as lightning. The incoming black light was immediately repelled. Junior Qin Yu. Seeing that it was Qin Yu who had made a move, Yin Guxuan and Yun, she were so excited that their breathing quickened. They did not know why, but when they saw Qin Yu, they were filled with inexplicable confidence. Perhaps it was because Qin Yu had been creating miracles since Qin Yu met him. So far, whether it was the Shui clan, the second prince, or the Duke of the Baijian dynasty. However, all those who provoked Qin Yu did not have a good ending. Take this. After blocking the attack, Qin Yu handed several pills to Yin Bahai and the others. He did not make a move earlier because he was making the pills. Although these pills could not completely purify the spirit-dispersing powder, they could make it lose its effect for a while. The eyes of Yin Bahai and the others, who had been full of despair, lit up. Without any hesitation, they swallowed the pills. Although Qin Yu only had a few dozen pills, at least they could give the Yun family for a fighting chance. Oh no, kill him quickly. Mosenro's expression changed slightly. In the void, the majestic power of the heavenly fire swept across the void and turned into a true essence flaming python that was dozens of feet long. It pounced toward Qin Yu. Qin Yu could even cure the blood mist goo poison. Perhaps he could find a way to neutralize the spirit-dispersing powder. Clang! Clang! Zhu Lingfeng also made a move. An ancient war saber appeared in his hand. The war saber slashed in the air. The terrifying saber power condensed and turned into a dazzling saber radiance that was dozens of feet long. Break! Qin Yu took a step forward and stabbed with his spear. The sound of a dragon's roar reverberated through the sky. His killing intent exploded. Boom! Boom! Two ear-splitting explosions were heard, and the aftermath of the explosions was as violent as the waves of the sea, wreaking havoc in all directions. The martial emperors and martial kings in the Yun family fort could not keep their bodies steady. They were all sent flying by the impact. On the other hand, Yin Bahai and the others behind Qin Yu were not affected by the aftermath of the attack. He blocked the attack of the power of heaven and earth. Where did this guy come from? Seeing that Qin Yu was unharmed, Mosenro and Zhu Lingfeng were shocked. A martial king had actually managed to block the combined attack of two martial great masters. Chapter 101. Indeed, the heaven-destroying killing intent alone is no longer enough to fight against a martial grandmaster. Although Qin Yu had not been pushed back, his right hand was slightly numb from the attacks of the two martial grandmasters. The heaven-destroying killing intent was indeed powerful, but Qin Yu's cultivation was too weak. It seemed that he had to use the entire heaven-destroying array to deal with a martial grandmaster. He blocked it. That's great. Yin Guxuan, Yin Shi, and the other Yin family fort martial artists were overjoyed after being shocked. As long as Qin Yu could hold on until Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang recovered their cultivation, the Yun family fort could still be saved. This kid is strange. Let's attack together. After the previous exchange, Mo Zhenro and Zhu Lingfeng had completely stopped underestimating him. Immediately, the four martial grandmasters attacked. Streams of heaven and earth aura that could shake the wind and clouds, carrying with them an incomparably frightening killing intent, rushed toward Qin Yu. Secret skill, dragon transformation. Qin Yu shouted, and the green dragon battling the heavens emitted a dazzling green light that merged into his body. Immediately, light cyan-colored dragon scales appeared all over Qin Yu's body. His entire appearance changed drastically in an instant, as if he was a real dragon that was about to evolve. A vast dragon's power emanated from Qin Yu's body and swept across the heavens and the earth. 9 dragons battling the heavens array. Qin Yu took another step forward, and the hell-suppressing divine spear burst forth. The power of the spear even tore the air apart. The heaven-destroying killing intent mixed with the green dragon battling the heavens array and formed 9 lifelike giant green dragons with boundless killing intent. Boom, boom, boom. The 4 martial grandmasters' true origin force and the 9 giant green dragons formed a battle array. They collided wantonly in the heavens and the earth, creating a terrifying shockwave that resembled a tornado. Dang, dang, dang. Qin Yu, who was in his dragon transformation state, took dozens of steps in the air. The power of his footsteps was so great that the void was like the ground. Pung, pung, pung sounds could be heard, which showed the power of this collision. Even so, Qin Yu was still able to block the combined attacks of Mo Zhenro and Zhu Lingfeng. We can't let this kid live. Mo Zhenro and Zhu Lingfeng were only shocked by Qin Yu's talent and combat strength. At this moment, an incomparably intense and terrifying killing intent surfaced in their hearts. Today, no matter what, he had to make Qin Yu stay here. He could not let him leave alive. To them, leaving behind a genius with such shocking talent was undoubtedly digging their own graves. With this thought in mind, Mo Zhenro and the other 3 prepared to reveal their trump cards. Shocking auras erupted like waves, wave after wave, growing stronger and stronger. Prince Qin Yu, we're here to help you. At this moment, Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang had already temporarily suppressed the poison of the spirit-dispersing powder. Their vast and boundless true yuan exploded, sweeping across the heavens and earth. You guys go deal with the Zhu clan's people. I'll kill that fellow. Before he even finished his words, Qin Yu had already turned into a divine dragon and pounced toward Mo Zhenro with lightning speed. Qin Yu had his eyes on Mo Zhenro's disguise technique. Great, I want to see what kind of secret you have. Mo Zhenro's eyes were filled with killing intent, but there was also a trace of greed in them. He was also very interested in Qin Yu's secret. Although Qin Yu had blocked their combined attacks twice, Qin Yu could not do anything about it. Qin Yu did not know the power of heaven and earth, but he could sense it. Thus, even if he were to fight Qin Yu one-on-one, Mo Zhenro was not afraid in the slightest. The peerlessly thrilling battle exploded in the void, shaking the heavens and shaking the earth. The momentum was vast and mighty. Kill! Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang charged towards the 3 people from the Zhu clan's fort with shocking killing intent. Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang, who had just escaped death, did not hesitate to unleash their potential. The combat power they unleashed was far greater than before. Although it was 2 against 3, they firmly entangled Zhu Lingfeng and the other 2. Seeing the 2 martial grandmasters fighting, the martial honorables from the Zhu clan's fort also took the opportunity to attack. With their absolute advantage in numbers, they started a bloody massacre in the Yun family fort. Countless people lost their lives. At least there were still dozens of martial honorables in the Yun family fort who had recovered their origin energy. They controlled the killing array in the Yun family fort and stalled the martial honorables from the Zhu clan's fort. Otherwise, the middle-level clansmen in the Yun family fort would have been wiped out. Even so, after this battle, regardless of the outcome, the Yun family fort's vitality would be greatly damaged. Brat, do you really think that you can fight against a martial grandmaster with just a treasure? After exchanging dozens of blows, Mozenro, who had already confirmed Qin Yu's combat power, laughed wildly. Qin Yu's main combat power came from the mysterious killing intent. However, the killing intent was on the verge of exploding. Mozenro had easily detonated it several times. This allowed Mozenro to find Qin Yu's weakness. His figure flashed continuously. 5 true essence figures condensed the power of the heavenly fire and appeared in 5 positions around Qin Yu. This was obviously a formation. Dying. 5-turn fire killing array. Mozenro's 5 figures grinned. The hideous smiles on their faces became even more terrifying. The 5 of them formed hand seals and attacked together. The raging power of the heavenly fire seemed to have completely transformed into a real heavenly fire. The power was so strong that it could burn everything. Even the air became distorted. What can a mere level 1 heavenly fire do to me? Qin Yu's lips curled into a cold smile. Immediately, a killing intent that could destroy the world burst out from Qin Yu's body with a loud bang. It was like clouds and mist that instantly covered an area of several tens of meters. The 5-turn fire killing array that Mozenro had condensed collapsed on the spot, as if it had been attacked by a giant beast. It was the heaven-vanquishing array that Qin Yu had completely activated. How can this be? Mozenro's eyes were filled with shock. His face was ferocious and lifeless. He stared blankly at the huge killing intent array that was a few hundred feet wide. In the huge killing intent array, there were a total of 99 streams of terrifying killing intent that were so condensed that they were almost tangible. They were like fish swimming in water. However, with just one look, Mozenro's hair stood on end. An indescribable sense of impending death filled his heart and made his scalp numb. The moment the celestial killing array appeared, the faces of Zhu Lingfeng and Yun Bahai, who had been fighting fiercely, changed drastically. They all involuntarily stopped fighting and looked toward the direction where Qin Yu was at with incomparable shock. As for the martial honorables from the Zhu family fort and Yun family fort, their faces were even paler. They trembled as if countless swords were pressed against their throats. Let me show you what the real power of a killing array is. With a thought from Qin Yu, the universal heavenly slaughtering array exploded like a berserk great desolation beast. No. Mozenro, whose face was completely pale, only had time to let out a miserable howl before he disappeared into the void like a sandstorm. Other than the Sumeru ring that Qin Yu had purposely left behind, there was nothing left of him. At this moment, regardless of whether it was the people of the Yun family fort or Yun Bahai, Zhu Lingfeng, or the other martial grandmasters, they all looked in horror at the youth who was dressed in white and holding a long spear. Mozenro, who was known as the 100 Faces Hades and who made countless martial grandmasters pale in fright, was dead? Oh my God, that was a martial grandmaster. Even in the 5 great continents, a martial grandmaster who was definitely considered one of the most powerful people had actually turned into dust and dissipated. Most importantly, the person who killed him was a 16-year-old youth. This shocking scene caused everyone's thoughts to stop at this moment. Chapter 102. It's your turn. After killing Mozenro, Qin Yu looked coldly at Zhu Lingfeng and the other 2. His murderous intent rose again. It was as if an invincible god of death had descended and was about to slaughter the world. Oh no! Zhu Lingfeng and the other 2's faces changed drastically. Their hair stood on end, and they quickly escaped without thinking. Boom! However, Qin Yu had already brought along the heaven-astonishing killing array and charged over with a loud bang. Poof! Zhu Lingfeng and the other 2 used all their strength to block the heaven-slaying array. Their faces turned pale, and they spat out blood. However, they also turned into 3 spots of light and disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. What a terrifying power! Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang regained their senses when they saw that Qin Yu had injured 3 martial grandmasters with one move. However, they still looked at Qin Yu with shock that could not be concealed. He really didn't know what kind of power could nurture such a terrifying monster. This made them even more certain that there was an invincible expert behind Qin Yu. Perhaps it was the real Wu Sheng. The patriarch has run away. Run. When the martial honorables of the Zhu family fort saw this, they all ran away. Even Zhu Lingfeng and the other 2, who were martial grandmasters, had run away. If they continued to stay, they would definitely die. When Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang saw this, their faces immediately turned cold. After killing thousands of people of the Yun family fort, they still wanted to run away? Immediately, a massacre began. When faced with 2 martial grandmasters, the hundreds of martial honorables did not have the power to resist, and they died one after another. If not for the fact that the spirit-dispersing powder in Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang's bodies had not been completely dissolved, none of the hundreds of martial honorables would have been able to leave alive. Qin Yu did not chase after them. After confirming that Zhu Lingfeng and the other 2 had run away in fear, he landed on the ground. He flew to the ground, swallowed a spirit pill, and sat down cross-legged. He wasn't completely unscathed in the battle just now. On the contrary, the backlash from summoning the entire celestial slaughtering formation was hundreds of times more intense than the killing intent alone. Even though Qin Yu had cultivated the fire lightning dragon body to the 4th revolution and used the secret technique of dragonization, which greatly increased his physical defense, Qin Yu was still unable to withstand it. However, he still suffered serious internal injuries. If Zhu Lingfeng and the other 2 were to fight to the death with him, Qin Yu would most likely be seriously injured. There is no doubt that the killing intent of the celestial slaughtering formation was extremely terrifying. However, this killing intent was also a double-edged sword. It hurt both the enemy and oneself. However, the backlash that the host received was not that severe, but it was definitely not light either. If Qin Yu hadn't advanced to the martial king realm and raised the grade of the spiritual formation disc, moving the entire heavenly slaughtering formation inside. In today's battle, Qin Yu at least had one of his arms crippled. Therefore, in Qin Yu's previous life, he had always integrated the celestial slaughtering formation into his own abhijna to increase its power. The reason why he kept using the celestial slaughtering formation was because his cultivation was too weak. Seeing Qin Yu sitting cross-legged there, Yun Bahai and the other members of the Yun family fort didn't go forward to disturb him. They looked at the thousands of dead clansmen, and the entire Yun family fort was filled with sorrow. This unforeseen event could be said to be the biggest crisis that the Yun family fort had faced since they established themselves in Qingzhou. Fortunately, the Yun family fort wasn't completely wiped out. After a full hour, Qin Yu finally recovered from the injuries in his body. This time, I used up nearly 60% of my dragon energy. The dragon soul in the ancient seal of the divine dragon sounded a little heartbroken. Using up 60% of his dragon energy in one battle was a little wasteful. Before refining the real dragon blood, the dragon energy derived from the ancient seal of the divine dragon was limited. For Qin Yu, other than the celestial slaughtering formation, the only thing he could rely on was his dragon energy. If he used up all of his dragon energy, Qin Yu's combat strength would definitely be greatly reduced. It doesn't matter. As long as there is dragon blood in the blood mist demon stream, it'll be fine. Qin Yu wasn't surprised. It was reasonable that the azure dragon battling the heavens and the secret art of dragon transformation had used up 60% of his dragon energy. Young Master Qin Yu, the Yin family fort will never forget your great kindness. At this moment, seeing that Qin Yu had awakened, Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang led the countless clansmen of the Yun family fort and bowed respectfully to Qin Yu. If it weren't for Qin Yu's help, the Yun family fort definitely wouldn't have been able to escape from the 4 martial grandmasters, even if they hadn't been poisoned by the spirit-dispersing powder. There wouldn't have only been a few thousand people who would have died. Fort Lord Yun, If you really want to thank me, why don't you tell me the details of the blood mist demon stream? Chinyu smiled. He was rather concerned about Yun Bahai's confirmation that there was dragon blood in the blood mist demon stream. How can I repay your great kindness with just the blood mist demon stream? As Yun Bahai spoke, other than Yun Kuang, the rest of the clansmen dispersed. I'm sure you already know that the greatest secret of the Yun family fort is the ancestral burial ground. After the rest of the clansmen dispersed, Yun Bahai spoke solemnly. For Lord, could it be that the ancestor of the Yun family fort was really a Wusheng? Yun Kuang was shocked. That's right. Yun Bahai nodded. In the ancestral burial ground, there is my ancestor's inheritance. Wusheng's inheritance. Yun Kuang was rather excited. Every clansman of the Yun family fort has been to the ancestral burial ground when they were born. Unfortunately, no one was lucky enough to obtain my ancestor's inheritance. Yun Bahai felt that it was a pity. Now that things had come to this, the clansmen of the Yun family fort would probably not be able to inherit this opportunity. For Lord Yun, are you thinking of giving your ancestor's inheritance to me? Qin Yu understood. With your talent, you should be able to obtain my ancestor's approval and obtain my inheritance. Yun Bahai said seriously. He knew the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. The Yin family fort was one of the 13 forts in Qingzhou. However, there were more than a handful of forces in Qingzhou that were stronger than the Yun family fort. Since the unseen pavilion knew about this matter, it would definitely lead to a lot of trouble. Rather than being taken away by other forces in the future, it would be better to give it to Qin Yu, who had given the Yun family fort a new lease of life. Did your ancestor leave behind a divine soul? Qin Yu asked. No. Yun Bahai was stunned. Then forget it. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. This made Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang a little confused. Qin Yu actually did not care about Wu Sheng's inheritance. After all, it was Wu Sheng's inheritance. Qin Yu indeed did not care. If it was purely to improve his cultivation level, with his attainments in alchemy, he had thousands of ways to improve it. However, ever since he had become a martial king, Qin Yu had never used elixirs to cultivate. The reason was very simple. Starting from the martial king realm, every step was related to the future realm of martial arts. The martial king realm refined the true origin and created the righteous force. The martial emperor realm refined the righteous force and transformed it into the true righteous force. The martial honorable realm awakened the three souls and controlled the soul power. The martial ancestor realm comprehended the power of heaven and earth and the mysteries of heaven and earth. Every realm required an incomparably stable foundation. In Qin Yu's previous life, it was because his foundation was unstable in the early stages that he was stuck in the Emperor realm. In this life, Qin Yu would definitely not repeat the same mistake. Other than using the ancient battle dragon art to refine the dragon blood without any side effects to break through his cultivation level, Qin Yu would not rely on any external forces. Seeing that Qin Yu really did not care, Yun Bahai was a little speechless. By the way, young Master Qin Yu, you went to the blood mist demon stream to look for the dragon blood, right? Suddenly, Yun Bahai seemed to have thought of something and asked. That's right. Qin Yu nodded. Is young Master interested in the ancient dragon scale? Yun Bahai asked. Chapter 103. Ancient Dragon Scale. Qin Yu was stunned for a moment before his face lit up with joy. There's a dragon scale in your ancestral burial ground? To Qin Yu, he could refine anything that contained dragon blood and dragon aura to improve his cultivation. If the ancient era's dragon scale that Yun Bahai mentioned was a real dragon scale, then it would naturally be beneficial to Qin Yu. That's right. Yun Bahai nodded. Let's go and take a look. Qin Yu immediately decided. The three of them immediately set off for the ancestral burial ground of the Yun family fort. To their surprise, the ancestral burial ground of the Yun family fort was at the bottom of the cliff. Ka. Yun Bahai took out the ancient token, activated the tomb's boundary, and entered the ancient tomb. The ancient tomb was rather simple. There was only a stone coffin and an altar. There were some tributes placed in front of the stone coffin. There were several items on the altar. Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang knelt and bowed to the stone coffin before arriving at the altar. Wu Sheng's boundary. After taking a glance at the altar, Qin Yu knew that there was a valiant spirit formation on top of the altar. It was the power of the boundary left behind by Wu Sheng's boundary. It was no wonder that Yun Bahai and the others had been unable to obtain Wu Sheng's inheritance. Qin Yu's gaze landed on the altar. There were several items on the altar. There was a jade box, a blood-red battle blade, an ancient secret manual, and a palm-sized dragon scale that shone faintly with starlight. It's actually a dragon scale. Although they could not sense any dragon aura because of the boundary, the dragon soul recognized it at a glance. It's even an ancient celestial dragon's dragon scale? Qin Yu's eyes were faintly filled with excitement. Since an ancient celestial dragon's dragon scale appeared here, it meant that there was once a celestial dragon continent on this continent. The ancient celestial dragon absorbed the power of the billions of stars in the heavens to cultivate. Even among the dragons in the heavens, it was definitely among the top dragons. Ancient celestial dragon, sky dragon continent. Thinking of this, Qin Yu's eyes became brighter. Looks like this continent is really not simple. Young Master Qin Yu, this ancient dragon scale was left behind by my ancestor. According to my ancestor's instructions, if anyone can break the barrier, they can take it away. Yun Bahai said, since that's the case, I won't hold back. Qin Yu was slightly surprised. The ancestors of the Yun family fort were quite generous. They even gave away the ancient dragon scale, so casually. After taking a closer look at the barrier, Qin Yu entered the azure dragon battling the heaven state with a dragon roar. Chi! Chi! Qin Yu's fingers continued to move as he continuously tapped on the barrier, sending strands of battle dragon true essence into the barrier. Wait a minute. This scene made Yun Bahai's expression change greatly, and he immediately wanted to stop Qin Yu. Before the previous great fort master of the Yun family fort died, he had thought of forcefully breaking the barrier. However, in the end, he was directly killed by the power of the barrier, and not even his bones were left. He brought Qin Yu here because he wanted Qin Yu to pass the inheritance test left behind by his ancestor. He did not want Qin Yu to break Wu Sheng's barrier with brute force. Crack! However, just as Yun Bahai spoke, a crisp cracking sound could be heard from the barrier. Immediately after, the barrier emitted a golden light, and then it suddenly exploded amidst the countless cracks. It's broken just like that? Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang were both stunned and in disbelief. How could a barrier set up by a martial saint be broken so easily? Where did Qin Yu come from? To be able to kill a martial ancestor, Qin Yu had obviously borrowed the power of the terrifying killing formation. However, in order to break through this martial saint's barrier, one would need to have real strength and power. A 16-year-old boy had broken Wu Sheng's barrier. If this news were to spread, it would shock countless people. It would be even more shocking than him killing a martial ancestor. Qin Yu did not hesitate. After breaking the barrier, he picked up the star dragon scale. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The moment he touched the dragon scale, the divine dragon ancient seal trembled slightly, and various dragon shadows appeared. It is indeed a real heavenly dragon scale. Qin Yu and the dragon soul were extremely happy. The divine dragon ancient seal would only react when it contained the true dragon bloodline and dragon chi. With Yun Bahai and the dragon soul present, Qin Yu could not immediately refine the dragon scale, so he turned and left the ancient tomb. Young Master Qin Yu. Seeing Qin Yu turn and leave, Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang were stunned again. They had previously said that they would give their ancestors' inheritance to Qin Yu. Now that Qin Yu had broken Wu Sheng's barrier, these treasures naturally belonged to Qin Yu. They were not the kind of people who would go back on their words after seeing the treasures. This originally belonged to the Yun family fort. The dragon scale is enough for me. Before he finished speaking, Qin Yu flew directly to the cliff. The treasures were nothing more than cultivation techniques, spirit weapons, and memory inheritance. These were not attractive to Qin at all. How bold! In Yun Bahai's eyes, it was hard to tell whether it was shock or admiration. Qin did not even look at the treasures left behind by Wu Shang. Just this boldness alone showed that he was not an ordinary person. If these treasures were to be spread out, who knew how many martial arts grandmasters would fight over them? Of course, after the admiration, Yun Bahai and Yun Kuang could not suppress the ecstasy in their hearts. With the martial saint's legacy, the House of Yun would no longer have the guts to provoke them in the Green State. After Qin returned to the Yun family fort, he asked for a secret room and refused to see anyone. Immemorial battle dragon art. Qin sat down cross-legged. With a thought, the ancient sky dragon scale immediately entered the ancient seal of the divine dragon. As Qin circulated the immemorial battle dragon art, the sky dragon scale immediately turned into countless star dragon chi. Every star dragon chi was like a mini sky dragon that swam around in the ancient seal of the divine dragon. The dragon chi is contaminated with the poison of the blood mist. Qin, who was about to absorb the dragon chi, suddenly had a slight change in expression. So this sky dragon scale was obtained from the blood mist devil stream by the ancestors of the Yun family fort? The dragon's soul reacted. I see. No wonder the Yin family fort definitely has dragon blood in the blood mist secret realm. Maybe. Qin Yu's lips curled into a wide smile. Maybe there is an ancient sky dragon in the blood mist devil stream. After the dragon's soul finished speaking, it laughed heartily. With their current strength, they were unable to deal with the ancient sky dragon. However, if they were really sure that there was an ancient sky dragon in the blood mist devil stream, that would be a joyous occasion for them. As Qin Yu purified the poison of the blood mist in the dragon chi, he thought about the 9 Abyss Hell Dragon. With the ancient sky dragon scale, he was looking forward to the 9 Abyss Hell Dragon in the 100 Countries battlefield. Of course, apart from looking forward to it, Qin Yu could not help but have a trace of doubt in his heart. Normally speaking, there would only be one type of dragon clan on a continent. The dragon clan, like the monster beasts, had their own territories. However, in this continent where the standard of martial arts was not high, there were traces of 2 types of real dragon clan. This caused Qin Yu to be unable to understand it. Refine. After thinking for a while, Qin Yu gave up. The more dragon clan there were, the more benefits it would bring to him. Boom! Immediately, the star dragon chi in the ancient seal of the divine dragon turned into a majestic dragon chi that swarmed out like a river. Every cell in Qin Yu's body was instantly filled with dragon chi. Chapter 104. As the chi of the heavenly dragon entered his body, the 10 dragon veins in Qin Yu's body began to vibrate. Inside his Dantian's primary core, the battle dragon's true origin turned into a giant vortex, crazily devouring the dragon chi. With each stream of heavenly dragon chi devoured, the battle dragon's true origin in his primary core became purer. Bang! 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 As he continued to absorb the chi and refine the true origin, Qin Yu's cultivation improved by leaps and bounds once again. From the 5th layer Martial Emperor Realm to the 9th layer Martial Emperor Realm. However, this time, Qin Yu did not use all of the dragon chi to improve his cultivation. After reaching the peak of the 9th layer Martial Emperor Realm, Qin Yu merged the remaining dragon chi into his blood and dragon veins. Gurgle gurgle. The blood in Qin Yu's body began to change immediately. The faint golden color, due to the consumption of the dragon scale fruit, became denser. As the golden blood merged with the dragon vein became more solid, like a real dragon. Dragon runes even appeared on the dragon vein, faintly emitting a crimson glow. Red-ranked dragon vein. The dragon veins formed by cultivating the ancient battle dragon technique were divided into 9 grades: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, golden, and dragon. The red-ranked dragon vein was equivalent to an ordinary innate spiritual vein. When the dragon vein's blood was refined to the strongest dragon vein, Qin would be able to transform into a real dragon, comparable to an innate immortal. However, Qin had refined a lot of dragon blood his past life, but he had only refined the power of the dragon vein to the blue dragon vein. In order to achieve the dragon transformation stage, Qin wondered if he would need to devour the blood of a real dragon. The dragon soul's cultivation also benefited greatly, reaching the 8th layer martial emperor realm. The dragon soul did not need to form a dragon vein. Thus, it was purely used to improve its cultivation. Unfortunately, although the dragon scale contained a strong dragon chi, the dragon blood was too thin. The ancient seal of the mystical dragon could not break down the natal skills of the heavenly dragon tribe. After both of their cultivations improved, Qin left the secret chamber, planning to investigate the blood mist demon stream. Fort Lord Yun. After walking out of the secret room, Qin saw Yun Bahai waiting there. "Young Master Qin Yu." Yun Bahai went up to him with a face full of smiles. However, the moment he saw Qin Yun Bahai stopped in his tracks, and his eyes widened in shock. In such a short period of time, Qin Yu's cultivation had improved from the 5th layer martial emperor realm to the peak 9th layer martial emperor realm. What kind of cultivation speed was this? Could it be that there was a great opportunity hidden in the ancient dragon scale? Or could it be that Qin Yu's original cultivation had long surpassed that of a martial king, and he was just recovering his cultivation? Fort Lord Yun, how much do you know about the blood mist devil stream? Qin Yu ignored Yun Bahai's astonishment and went straight to the point. "I was worried that you would leave, so I came here in a hurry." As Yun Bahai spoke, he handed a secret scroll to Qin Yu. "This is the map that my ancestor used to explore the blood mist devil stream. Look here. This blood-red mark is said to be a dragon blood ancient pool. My ancestor found the dragon scale here." Qin Yu opened the secret scroll. Yun Bahai pointed at a blood-red mark on the map and said, "They had been poisoned by the blood mist goo poison because they wanted to go to the blood mist devil stream to try their luck." Dragon blood ancient pool? Qin Yu and the dragon soul were shocked. If the heavenly dragon scale was found here, could it be that the ancient pool was formed by the heavenly dragon's blood? After receiving the secret scroll, Qin Yu did not stay in the Yun family fort for long. Originally, Yun Bahai wanted to personally bring Qin Yu to the blood mist devil stream. However, the Yun family fort had encountered a great change. The Zhu family fort and the unseen pavilion could attack at any time. Therefore, he had to stay in the Yun family fort. Qin Yu did not care about this. With his current strength, he did not need anyone to protect him. Yun Shi, who was in the crowd, did not say a word until Qin Yu left through the teleportation array. When she was in the Zhenwu dynasty, she still had some fantasies. However, after the battle at the Yun family fort today, she completely recognized the boundary between her and Qin Yu. A 16-year-old prodigy who could kill a martial ancestor would definitely become an overlord of the continent in the future. She and Qin Yu were no longer people of the same world. After leaving the Yun family fort, Qin Yu came to a main city called Red Rainbow City. Red Rainbow City was the closest main city to the blood mist devil stream. Of course, it was also thousands of miles away from the blood mist devil stream. After Qin Yu came out of Red Rainbow City, his appearance changed completely. His originally handsome facial features became ordinary, and his figure became slightly shorter. This was the disguise secret skill that he had obtained from Mozenro. This secret skill originated from a secret skill called shape-shifting. Rumor had it that the shape-shifting ability could not only change one's physique, but could also change one's appearance and imitate one's voice. It could even change into anything. It was an extremely powerful ability. However, the real shape-shifting secret skill had been lost a long time ago. Mozenro had only obtained a fragment of it. Even so, Mozenro had made a name for himself in the assassination world. The reason why Qin Yu had disguised himself was because he did not want to expose his whereabouts. Before going to the Blood Mist Devil Stream to find out more about the ancient Sky Dragon, Qin Yu did not want to cause any more trouble. After flying for 2 days, Qin Yu came to the famous Blood Mist Devil Stream in Qingzhou. The entrance to the Blood Mist Devil Stream was a natural canyon called the Blood Mist Canyon. At the end of the Blood Mist Canyon, there was a thick blood mist chi. With the canyon as the center, there was not a single blade of grass growing within a few hundred miles. It was dead silent. There are ripples of Sumeru space. Qin Yu came to the end of the Blood Mist Canyon. After sensing it, his face was filled with shock. Is this the Xiantian realm? The dragon's soul's eyes glittered. It doesn't look like it was formed naturally. It looks more like a man-made Sumeru realm. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. It can't be. To create a Sumeru realm, one needs to be at least a martial progenitor. The dragon's soul was shocked. There cannot be a martial progenitor hidden in this continent, right? Something is wrong. Qin Yu squinted his eyes. The ancient celestial dragon was actually in a Sumeru realm. Was this out of his expectations? The dragon tribe did not need to create a Sumeru realm. This was because the dragon tribe had their own dragon realm. Of course, regardless of the situation in the Sumeru realm, Qin Yu still had to enter to find out. Roar. When Qin Yu entered the Blood Mist Demon Stream, he could hear the faint roar of a dragon. The dragon roar was sometimes far and sometimes near, making it difficult to find. Dragon soul. Qin Yu stood in place and looked around. It was indeed the Sumeru realm. The ripples of space were very obvious. The dragon soul understood and immediately used a secret technique to sense it. There's a strong spatial seal here. My secret technique is suppressed and I can't sense it. However, after a while, the dragon soul gave up on sensing it. It seems that I can only go to the dragon blood ancient pool recorded on this map. Qin Yu took out the secret scroll map and began to walk in the general direction. There was no choice. The Blood Mist Demon Stream was too thick, and it was impossible to tell the direction. Fortunately, Qin Yu had already awakened a round of soul power and could roughly sense the terrain around him. As long as he was near the Dragon Blood Ancient Pool, he should be able to sense it. Along the way, Qin Yu encountered many ferocious beasts, but they were easily dealt with by him. Perhaps the beasts in the Blood Mist Demon Stream had absorbed the Blood Mist Chi, but they had become unusually bloodthirsty. Chapter 105. After wandering around the Blood Mist Demon Stream for 3 days, Qin Yu finally found the Dragon Blood Ancient Pool. The Dragon Blood Ancient Pool was 99 feet in size and was grayish-white in color. However, upon closer inspection, one could see that the ancient pool was made of bones. In the ancient pond, extremely thick scarlet blood gushed out like a dark spring. However, the strange thing was that the blood did not have any fishy smell. Instead, it had a strange fragrance. This is not dragon blood at all. Qin Yu squatted down and took a look. He frowned after taking a look at a drop of blood. There were many types of blood in the blood, but most of it was human blood. This made Qin Yu frown even more as he looked at the information on the secret scroll that Yunbahai had given him. Yunbahai would not deliberately give him a fake secret scroll, and the heavenly dragon scale was indeed real. However, why was there no dragon blood in the Dragon Blood Ancient Pool that should have contained dragon blood? According to the secret scroll, the Dragon Blood Ancient Pool should be extremely dangerous. Now that there was no dragon blood, there was no danger. Could it be that someone beat us to it? The dragon's soul asked. After all, it was dragon blood. Even if the Blood Mist Demon Stream was a forbidden area in Qingzhou, there was no lack of skilled and bold people. It's possible that someone beat us to it, but why fill it with blood again? Qin Yu looked at the drop of blood carefully. It was not the blood mist goo poison, but ordinary blood. At this moment, Qin Yu's expression changed. He immediately withdrew his aura and escaped into the blood mist. Not long after, the sound of wind breaking could be heard. It was 10 martial artists, all of whom were martial kings. However, the 10 martial kings were carrying several martial artists on their backs. They had different cultivation levels. There were Earth Martial Realm, Sky Martial Realm, and Martial Kings. However, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul were both surprised when they saw the 10 martial kings. Although the 10 martial kings were emitting a strong, bloody aura. However, there was an extremely faint dragon aura around his body. As expected, someone else beat him to it. Just as Qin Yu felt that this trip was a waste, he saw the 10 martial kings leaping into the ancient pool one after another. There seems to be something hidden under the blood pool, the Dragon Soul said with interest. Maybe it's related to the dragon blood. Qin Yu arrived in front of the ancient pond. After thinking for a moment, he surrounded himself with true essence and quietly dived into the blood pond. The dragon blood aura on the bodies of those 10 martial artists also made Qin Yu somewhat concerned. After diving for about 1,000 feet, Qin Yu saw an ancient door in the blood pool. A formation appeared in front of the ancient gate, isolating the blood. Qin Yu glanced at it and avoided the perception restriction of the formation, passing through it like a leopard. After entering the ancient gate, there was a long black stone passageway. Underground ruins. Arriving at the end of the black stone tunnel, Qin Yu saw a rather spectacular underground ruin. All kinds of ancient palaces stood tall, but they were all dilapidated and filled with the aura of time. At this moment, a group of people were busy on an ancient altar in the center of the underground ruin. They tied the martial artists to bronze pillars and slit their throats to let out blood. Blood sacrifice. Qin Yu took a look and recognized that this was some kind of blood sacrifice using human blood. Look over there. After looking in the direction of the Dragon Soul's voice, Qin Yu's eyes narrowed. It was a huge bone palace. However, what caught Qin Yu's attention was that the bone palace was actually built with dragon bones. Had a dragon fallen here before? That can't be the ancient heavenly dragon we're looking for, right? The Dragon Soul probed, but it didn't find any dragon blood aura from the bone palace. Let's go and take a look. For some reason, Qin Yu felt that there seemed to be some secret hidden here. Qin Yu looked around and fixed his eyes on a martial artist who was alone. He lurked over like a ghost and easily killed him. Soon, Qin Yu changed his clothes and disguised himself as that person and walked towards the bone palace. When passing by the altar, Qin Yu discovered that the altar was connected to the bone palace. The blood of the blood sacrifice on the altar flowed into the bone palace. After walking over to the bone palace, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul both started to carefully inspect it. It's really dragon bones. However, it's hard to say whether it's a heavenly dragon or not. Looking at the appearance of the dragon bones, it should have been dead for hundreds of years. Strange, the dragon race has been dead for so many years, it's impossible for the dragon's body to be petrified. Indeed, the dragon bones don't contain the power of the dragon race. From the looks of it, it seems like someone has taken away all the power in the dragon bones. While Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul were observing the dragon bones, 7 martial monarchs walked out of the bone palace. During the blood sacrifice, no one is allowed to approach the dragon god palace. Don't you know the rules? The old man in the lead immediately scolded angrily when he saw Qin Yu sneaking in front of the bone palace. Yeah, the dragon blood aura on their bodies is much stronger. When Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul saw this, they both looked towards the depths of the bone palace. The pressure of the seal that was everywhere made it impossible for them to sense the situation inside the bone palace. However, from the looks of these people, there seemed to be dragon blood in the bone palace. Bastard, didn't you hear this elder talking to you? Seeing that Qin Yu ignored him, the old martial monarch was furious. Berserk blood-colored true essence swept out like a blood-colored giant beast, pouncing towards Qin Yu. Dragon Soul, haven't you always wanted to find someone to practice your moves? I'll leave them to you. Qin Yu didn't even look at the 7 martial monarchs and directly turned to walk into the bone palace. Hee hee. The Dragon Soul laughed sinisterly, and the ferocious myriad poison inky flood dragon rushed out of thin air. After refining the 2 blood pills of the blood fog poison, the myriad poison inky flood dragon's strength had increased rapidly. Now it had reached LV3 martial monarch realm. Bang! Shinron swung its tail, shattering the blood-colored true essence, and the myriad poison inky flood dragon directly pounced on the 7 people. After a battle, the dragon's soul easily killed the 7 martial monarchs. Oh no, a martial monarch realm demonic beast has invaded. We're in the middle of the blood sacrifice now. We can't disturb Lord Dragon God. Quickly stop it. The death of the 7 martial monarchs immediately caused a commotion. Many figures appeared and rushed towards the myriad poison inky flood dragon. The dragon's soul laughed disdainfully. The myriad poison inky flood dragon opened its mouth and spat out a billowing myriad poison fog. Those martial artists who came into contact with the poisonous fog, even if they had true essence to protect their bodies, their flesh and blood immediately rotted and quickly turned into a pool of black blood. There was no corpse left. This shocking scene immediately caused a large-scale panic. No one dared to approach. Seeing this, the dragon's soul stepped on the mist and quickly entered the Bone Palace. At this time, the martial monarchs and martial venerables in the Bone Palace had all been killed by Qin Yu. However, at this moment, Qin Yu was standing in front of a blood pool, looking at it with rapt attention. This blood pool was exactly the same as the dragon blood ancient pool that they had entered. What's wrong? Seeing that Qin Yu was a little strange, the dragon's soul immediately flew over. Come take a look. This is also a dragon soul, right? Qin Yu blinked and pointed at the blood-colored ferocious dragon shadow in the blood pool. Ha, it's really a dragon soul. The dragon soul took a look and could not help but exclaim in surprise. The blood-colored ferocious dragon shadow kept rolling in the blood pool as if it wanted to break out of the blood pool. However, it was imprisoned by a mysterious force and could not leave the blood pool. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.